Part 27. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 271. The two chapters are combined together, and they have just been coded. More than 5 years have passed, and he is no longer the one he remembered. Time, to women, is like poison, but to men, it is like honey. 5 years ago, he was young and immature, like most young men studying abroad, with an indescribable weakness in his elegance, trustworthy, but unreliable. 5 years later, he was mature and handsome, replaced by the charming character of a tough man. Even if he was imprisoned for half a month, he still didn't show any signs of frustration. He sat there with a tall and straight figure, and his profile was as perfect as a chisel. Such a treasure, why didn't she discover it before, and didn't know how to cherish it? Mimi. Her voice was so trembling that she couldn't recognize it. Inexplicably, tears rolled down her cheeks like broken beads, poured into her neck, and wet down her locks. Joe Mikang frowned, turned his head, and looked at the crying woman expressionlessly. What are you doing here? Get out. Mimi. The woman took another step forward. I'm Myru, don't you know me? Get out. Joe Mikang looked at her indifferently. If you dare to take a step forward, try. His eyes, his tone, were piercingly chilly. Yamiru's eyes widened in disbelief. Mimi, I heard that something happened to your family, and I came to see you right away. Do you hate me that much? Call me Joe Mikang. Joe Mikang looked at her without the slightest emotion. The relationship between us has been broken long ago. You are not qualified to see me. Sure enough. Yamiru lowered her head. Sure enough, you still hate me. I already know that I was wrong. I have known it for a long time. In fact, I have long wanted to come back and apologize to you. Of course, I know what I did, and an apology is not enough to make up for it, so, this time, I will definitely help you. Mimi, you have to trust me, I will definitely help you. Who's outside? Joe Mikang shouted to the outside, take this woman out. No one answered, and no one came in. Joe Mikang was so angry that he grabbed the tea mug on the table and threw it towards the door. With a loud boom, the tea mug fell down along the door frame, and the splashed water soaked a large area in front of the door. Lu Jun and Wang Xiaoguang, who were in charge of duty, looked at each other with helplessness in their eyes. It's not that they pretended to be dead on purpose, but they had to play dead. Yes. They were entrusted by Master Wan to look after and protect Joe Mikang, but the woman who went in just now had a special approval note in her hand. The writers of that note, let alone them. Even Wan Lao, it is not easy to go head to head. Boom. Boom. Lu Jun and Wang Xiaoguang were wondering what to do. Looking at the thrown woman sitting on the ground, and the tightly closed door. The boss, with his mouth open, didn't close it for a long time. Joe Mikang, Yamiru got up from the ground and rushed to the door. Lu Jun and Wang Xiaoguang hurriedly blocked the door. Comrade, yeah, look, why don't we wait until Colonel Zhou's anger subsides, saying and bowing, please. Please. Get out of the way. Yamiru blushed with anger. She was still immersed in the joy of reunion, so he picked her up and threw her out. No matter how wrong she did before, he shouldn't treat her like this. In the past, he cared for her so tenderly. When it was cold, he gave her hot water to soak her feet. When it was hot, he didn't sleep in the middle of the night and fanned her with a fan. If she wanted to eat something, she just had to go to his room and make trouble with him. Whenever he got up, he would help her buy. That kind of love, even if there is an interval of 6 years, it won't dissipate to such an extent, right? If he treats her like this out of hatred, then he is even more of a coward. Resisting the pain of being kicked, Lu Jun continued to persuade in a good voice, comrade, yeah, you put out the fire. Colonel Zhou has been in there for so long, and his temper will inevitably become a little dry, so don't get angry again oiled up. He doesn't want to see anyone now, so you can cooperate, okay? Otherwise, when Colonel Joe is in a better mood, I'll call you right away, okay? Not good, Yamiru snorted coldly. Which phone number did you call to inform me? Of course it's the family, Lu Jun hurriedly said. I have the family's phone number registered here. Don't worry, I will definitely call you, or I can ask you every day to see if Colonel Joe is willing. I would like to see you, and if he says yes, I will let you know, okay? After being silent for a long time, Yamiru sighed heavily. Forget it, I came too suddenly. He didn't prepare for it. I'll give him time. I'll come back tomorrow. After finishing speaking, she turned around, staggered away. Lu Jun and Wang Xiaoguang breathed a sigh of relief. Tomorrow will not be their shift, dead friends will not die poor, worry, leave it to the comrades who will be on duty tomorrow. Hearing the sound of footsteps going away, Zhou Mikang finally let go of his frown. Yamiru would come back, he had already expected it. The hurdle that Mr. Ye can't get over is that he has been single all the time, and when he gets married, the Ye family will naturally bring Yamiru home, and they can't just let her float outside for the sake of him. Seeing her again, there was no expected anger. Really, he drove her away, just because he didn't want to have any further entanglements with her. He was married, no matter what the future situation would be. Before Chu Xia left him, he would never do anything to make Chu Xia unhappy. Comfortable thing. He was the one who forcibly married her back home, so naturally he shouldn't cause unnecessary troubles for her. He knows that women are cautious in their feelings. No matter whether he has feelings for Yamiru or not, as long as he and Yamiru Chu Xia must feel uncomfortable in the past. Then, he will put an end to this problem from the root. Yamiru's so-called helping him should be to convince her grandfather. She still doesn't understand old man yet too much. At this time, even if no one speaks, he will not leave the Zhou family alone. Moreover, a few days ago, Grandpa sent someone to deliver a letter. Xiao Yuan went to find Grandpa Ye, but not only failed to convince Grandpa Ye to join his camp. It also made Mr. Ye determined to help the Zhou family. He had already written a letter to the Ye family in the capital. Regardless, it works or not. He received this love, but what he received was from the Ye family, not from Yamiru. Thinking of his little wife, he felt a sense of warmth in his heart. Of course, the grandfather sent a letter saying that his precious little wife married him against his will at such a young age. But he was able to do everything in an orderly manner, taking care of everyone. This might be the most discerning thing he did. These days, staying alone in this room, he had enough time to think, and he also clearly realized that he was actually more used to Yamiru back then. Get used to being together since childhood. I'm used to marrying her when I grow up, I'm used to his family arranging her for him, I'm used to taking care of her, I'm used to letting her do everything. These 2 days. The situation in the Zhou family is becoming more and more tense. Not only the Zhou family members who are already working have been suspended, but even Zhou Huikang. He was also suspended from class, when he packed his things and went downstairs. When I met Zhou Zhonkang, the other party had a sullen face. Pass him by. Fifth brother. After hesitating, Zhou Huikang called him, do you want to go home with me? Zhou Zhonkang continued to go upstairs as if he didn't hear it. Fifth brother, Zhou Huikang took 2 quick steps and pulled him, I'm calling you, why are you pretending to be deaf? I'm no longer your fifth brother. Zhou Zhonkang looked around, and when he saw someone looking at the two of them from time to time, he turned and went downstairs. Don't say anything here. It was a special period, and Zhou Huikang didn't bother to argue with him, so he followed his footsteps and came to a secluded corner. Zhou Zhonkang looked at Zhou Huikang seriously. I declared in the newspaper that I am no longer from the Zhou family, so, don't call me fifth brother in the future. If you want to treat me as a friend, just say hello when you meet. If you don't want to, just pretend you don't know me. You. Zhou Huikang stared at him blankly, not knowing what to say. He always knew that fifth brother was heartless, but he never thought that he could be so heartless. When the Zhou family needed the unity of the family the most, what he thought of was to get himself out as soon as possible. If he really wanted to leave the Zhou family, why didn't he leave when nothing happened to the Zhou family? He only fell out with his second uncle when his uncle and third brother were arrested. Obviously, he had received some news earlier and held a wait-and-see attitude. When he saw a bad sign, he quickly cleared himself out of the Zhou family. Are you sure, you will no longer be a member of the Zhou family? Zhou Huikang looked at him firmly. This is not just asking on my own behalf. When I go back, I will tell my grandfather and my second uncle and aunt. Zhou Zhonkang said expressionlessly, then please tell them, since I am no longer from the Zhou family, I no longer need the Zhou family to intervene in my affairs. Okay, Zhou Huikang gave him a thumbs up. You are strong, you are so strong, you will no longer be my fifth brother. I will remember. By the way, Zhou Zhonkang, if you have the ability, you also changed your surname. Directly Mei is fine. You don't need to worry about this, our future baby is indeed named Mei. Zhou Huikang. He was really speechless and didn't know what to say. Since there is nothing to say, let's go. He turned around, carried his luggage and walked forward without saying a word. Zhou Zhonkang also turned around and walked in another direction. Zhou Zhonkang, Zhou Huikang suddenly shouted. What's the matter? Zhou Zhonkang looked back at him. I thought, you don't even want to be friends with me, why are you calling me? You think I'd like to call you? Over there, Zhou Huikang pointed to his left front. Looking in the direction Zhou Huikang pointed, Zhou Zhonkang saw his mother, Liang Xiaohong, standing under a sycamore tree that had lost all its leaves. Location to go. After a little hesitation, Zhou Huikang also followed. Why are you here? Zhou Zhonkang's brows were still frowning when he reached Liang Xiaohong's side. Xiaozhong Liang Xiaohong saw her son with a smile on her face. Mom is asking a classmate to help you find you, but you came here unexpectedly. Where is Xiaofeng? Today is your 3 days, I'll come and have a look. By the way, as a gift to the daughter-in-law, as he said, he lit up the bag in his hand. Our marriage is just a formality. For the time being, we are still living in the dormitory, and she has no place to put things you give her, Zhou Zhonkang said with a flat face. That has to be given. Seeing Zhou Huikang who was following, Liang Xiaohong hid the things behind her back with some embarrassment. Xiahua, are you there? Second aunt, come to see fifth sister-in-law. Zhou Huikang pretended not to notice Liang Xiaohong's little gesture. He greeted her with a smile. Yeah, I haven't met my daughter-in-law seriously yet, Liang Xiaohong sniffed as she spoke. Your fifth brother is so stubborn, I'm really worried, he said and looked at Zhou Zhonkang. Xiaozhong, how can you get married without a new house? Go home, okay. Get to know your grandfather and your father wrong, take Xiaofeng home to live for a day or two every week, so that mom can take care of you more or less. Okay. I don't want to keep repeating different content. Zhou Zhonkang's face turned cold. You feel uncomfortable seeing that I haven't suspended classes, right? Second aunt, I have been suspended from class. Zhou Huikang brightened the things in his hand, and said with a half smile, fifth brother said that he is no longer from the Zhou family, and the future baby will also be named Mei, so, Zhou's affairs can't be related to him. Second aunt, if you persuade the five senses again, it will delay his future. You. Liang Xiaohong stared at Zhou Zhonkang in disbelief. You really said that? Yes, Zhou Zhonkang nodded. I have already decided that if you still treat me as your son and miss me, come to school to see me. However, you are not allowed to say anything about going home. I finally got out, and I don't want to go in again. If Mom really loves me, you can also move out and live with us. Xiaofeng's elder brother prepared a house for her, and it's no problem for 3 people to live in. Mom can help us cook at home, when we have a baby. Xiaofeng, why are you here? Seeing a handsome woman walking over with a smile on her face, Zhou Zhonkong immediately put on a flattering smile. I didn't see you when I went to the library. I heard you were here, so I came here. Mei Xiaofeng smiled at Liang Xiaohong, looked at Zhou Zhonkong. This is our mother. Yes, Zhou Zhonkong said, I heard that we are married, come and see us. Xiaofeng, this is a little thought from Mom. Liang Xiaohong hurriedly handed the bag she was carrying to Mei Xiaofeng. Thank you, Mom. Mei Xiaofeng took the bag from Liang Xiaohong, smiling happily. We should go home and see Mom, but hey. Mom, you can think about my proposal carefully. If there is nothing else, Xiaofeng and I will leave. Without waiting for Liang Xiaohong to answer, Zhou Zhonkong grabbed Mei Xiaofeng's shoulders and left. Mom, goodbye. Mei Xiaofeng turned around and waved at Liang Xiaohong with an apologetic expression. Goodbye. Liang Xiaohong waved her hand, her eyes full of sadness. Fifth sister-in-law is a nice person, Zhou Huikang said. In school, the reviews about her are all positive, and the second aunt doesn't have to worry too much, or the fifth brother will change after being with her for a long time. That child, why did he become so temperamental? Liang Xiaohong wiped the corners of her eyes, and looked at Zhou Huikang. Xiahua, if your fifth brother is half as sensible as you, second auntie won't worry about it. Zhou Huikang hesitated, and said, Second aunt, I think that the fifth brother was favored by you, and the sixth sister. You and the second uncle always felt that you owed them when you were young, and you always thought about how much you could make up for it. How much compensation, even when talking to them, always in a owed tone. Originally, they were the kind of silent and introverted people. You and Uncle Er always talked to them in such a suggestive way. As time passed, they really felt that you and Uncle Er owed them. Even with that, I feel that the entire Zhou family owes them. Look at the behavior of the two of them when something happened this time. Do they regard the Zhou family as their own home? Of course, my seventh sister is also like this, but she follows my mother's personality. My mother is a person who is for herself and can ignore anyone. But you and the second uncle are not. You and the second uncle are the kind of characters who can even burn themselves for the sake of their children, but the fifth brother and the sixth sister don't share the love between you and the second uncle, right? After a long silence, Liang Xiaohong nodded. Yes, your second uncle and I were indeed wrong too far. Your grandpa and grandma warned us before, but both of us said one thing in the dark. In the end, I still hurt myself. Second auntie, it's not too late for you to understand now. In the future, don't follow them in everything. If you hit a wall a few times and suffer a few times, they will have a long memory. This child. Liang Xiaohong laughed. You are the youngest, and you speak like a grown-up. Xiahua, who do you think you have followed? Me, Zhou Huikang just laughed. I'm a fusion of my father and my mother's personalities. My father has a naive temper. Your mother is a traitor, and the two of you neutralize it. Isn't that just me? I didn't see you being traitorous. My traitor is only for outsiders, but for my family, I'm a fool. Zhou Huikang held something in one hand, and patted Liang Xiaohong's shoulder with the other. Second aunt, don't worry, from now on, even if the fifth brother and sixth sister don't care about you and me and my eldest brother and third brother. Well, let's go. Zhou Zhonkong hiding behind a tree. Seeing Liang Xiaohong and Zhou Huikang getting farther and farther away, he sighed heavily and looked at Mei Xiaofeng. Let's go, what to eat, I'll buy it for you. Zhou Zhonkong, she is your mother. Mei Xiaofeng stared straight at him and said. Of course I know she is my mother. There was a trace of displeasure in Zhou Zhonkang's voice, obviously. He didn't like his wife questioning him like this. Don't you think your attitude is very problematic? Mei Xiaofeng took his arm and said softly, no matter what, she gave birth to you and raised you. I can't blame you for the things of that era on her. I can see from her look that she loves you very much. Moreover, it hurts carefully. I am afraid that saying something wrong will make you angry, so we will meet again later. Be nice to her, will you? Okay, Jo Jonkong nodded, I will try my best. You really hate them that much? Yes, Jo Jonkong nodded affirmatively, you have never been fostered, or you can't understand my feelings, and I know I can't blame them, but I blame the Jo family. Obviously, the condition of the eldest aunt's house is better than the others, why can't they take care of it? I am only 2 years younger than Jo Mikang, but our future is so far away. Why is this the result? Would it be like this if the Jo family hadn't put all their energy on Jo Zikang and Jo Mikang? Jo Zikang's development is not as good as Jo Mikang's because he is not up to date. If you give me the same opportunity and fail to develop, it means I have no ability, but if you don't give me a chance, what is it? Until today, I have never been honored by the Jo family. I am also a descendant of the Jo family. Why is it so unfair? If I have the grades of Jo Mikang, it is impossible for your grandparents and your parents to disapprove of me, right? As long as I think of the hard times you and I had, I can't love the Jo family at all. I know you love me, but... Mei Xiaofeng stroked his back lightly, calm down, don't always be a fool. I am willing to be with you just because I like you. No matter what you do or how far you have developed, I think you are the best. In my eyes, you are better than your third brother. If you love me, just listen to me. Let's not rely on anyone, but rely on our own ability to go forward step by step. No matter what happens in the future, let's have a clear conscience, okay? When you marry a wife, you should marry a virtuous man. The ancients never deceived me. Jo Jonkong hugged her tightly, thank you, when the whole world betrayed me, and you have never disliked me, thank you. I'm your wife, fool, Mei Xiaofeng said while opening the bag Liang Xiaohong sent, look at what mom gave us. This. Jo Jonkong froze when he saw a beautiful red box inside, picked it up with trembling hands, and opened it. It's so beautiful, looking at the shiny dark green jade bracelet inside, Mei Xiaofeng sighed, picked it up carefully, looked at it for a while, and handed it to Jo Jonkong, I will wear this to see my father-in-law at night. Mother-in-law and husband-in-law, old lady, okay. Jo Jonkong looked embarrassed. He really liked Mei Xiaofeng. Before, he broke away from his family and knew that the two families were not from the same faction. He was afraid that the Mei family would dislike him as the Jo family and would not agree. I don't have much emotion, so I just discard this burden for the sake of happiness. But unexpectedly, he who abandoned the Jo family did not get the approval of the Mei family, and the longing in his wife's eyes for the approval of her in-laws made him unable to say no. The problem is, just now, he said such unfeeling words to his mother, now. Mei Xiaofeng, who quietly looked at his expression, couldn't bear to embarrass him, so she said with a smile, I'm teasing you, it scares you, ha ha. She smiled, but there was not much smile in her eyes. He could feel the loss, bit his lip heavily, and looked at his wife firmly, don't worry, I won't let you suffer a little bit. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 272. When Zhou Huikang and Liang Xiaohong entered, a large family was packing up. There were a lot of boxes and other things in the hall. Liang Xiaohong's expression was gloomy, and she went to help with her head down. Not long after you left, the notice came. Mrs. Zhou looked around and sighed, it's still here, alas, you go back to your room and pack all the things you want to take away. The place where you are going is Zikang. He Shenping went to look for it, and no one will be able to live here for a while, so just pack up the things you need urgently, and put the rest first. And Liang Xiaohong responded and hurried upstairs. In early summer, she will continue to live at Grandpa Wan's house, but she needs to organize the things in the new house by herself. In fact, there is nothing to tidy up. The clothes have been sent to Grandpa Wan's house by Josei Kang and Jo Jipping. The furniture cannot be taken away. It seems to be quilts and mattresses. She can understand the significance of asking her to clean up this room. No matter where she lives now, they all regard her as a member of the Jo family from the bottom of their hearts. Taking down the only photo of her and Jo Mikang hanging on the wall, she couldn't help but sigh slightly, not knowing how he is doing now. Being able to issue a notice to let the Jo family move out means that the Jo family is in a very bad situation now. Can Grandpa Wan's people still protect him? When she was told to pack her things, she knew it was inappropriate, so she still begged Grandpa Wan, hoping that he could intercede for his help, because she knew the importance of his friend, and she also knew that the abandoned old man Jo chose standing with that old man, or because of the choice of old man Jo. It was only then that he angered the original Shang family, and directly abandoned the Jo family. If it wasn't for Josei Aoreo's matter. Will Mr. Jo make today's choice? Just last night, Jo Jipping talked with her about this issue. If it weren't for the pain of losing Rao Rao, if it wasn't for the alienation of the third brother these years, the Jo family would definitely give up everything to take care of everyone. It's just that sometimes the so-called big family is really a big family. In her opinion, the Jo family's choice this time was extremely correct, but how do outsiders see it? There is no way to say. Anyway, Mr. Wan has already vaccinated her, saying that maybe for a period of time, many people will regard the Jo family as nothing. Before Mr. Wan didn't come to the Jo family, he just didn't want to put too much pressure on the Jo family, making them feel that he was forcing them to fall to that old friend. Siblings. The door opened, and it was Yu Tao who came in. Sister-in-law. I'll be fine right away. Chu Xia carefully stuffed the photo frame into a small bag she was going to take to Wan's house, raised her head and smiled at Yu Tao. Third uncle and elder brother are back. Not yet. Yu Tao sat beside her, looking at the bags she had packed. Sighing softly, these days, thanks to my younger siblings. Originally, it was my responsibility. It was all shouldered by my younger siblings. My mother told me more than once. Let me say thank you to my younger siblings. Why do you say that? Chu Xia looked at her in a daze. I didn't do anything. Did sister-in-law make a mistake? No. Yu Tao smiled. I have encountered such a big event at home. Normally, I should spend more time with my grandparents and mother at home. However, my mother has been in poor health after the operation. I am thinking about her, so I will going back from time to time. If it wasn't for my siblings, I wouldn't be able to go home. This. Chu Xia smiled and waved her hands. If sister-in-law really wants to thank you, don't thank me. It was Jo Mikang who rushed to marry me in. After entering this door, I will be the daughter-in-law of the Jo family. Of course, I must do my best, the duty of a daughter-in-law. Did the siblings complain about the third child? No. Chu Xia shook her head without thinking. He didn't know in advance. Why should I blame him? If he knew about such a thing a long time ago, and deliberately married me in, then I must find him to settle the account. The third child really has a good eye. Yu Tao chuckled. The younger siblings are really the lucky stars of the Jo family. If it weren't for the younger siblings, both father and third child would suffer a lot this time. Chu Xia smiled and waved her hands. Sister-in-law, don't mention this matter. You always bring it up, as if you treat me as an outsider. Okay, let's not talk about it. Yu Tao changed the subject. Did the third brother discuss with his younger siblings when to have a baby? Isn't this topic jumping too much? Chu Xia looked at Yu Tao with black eyes. We haven't thought about this matter, and we haven't had time to think about it. Really? Yu Tao sighed softly. I always think about this question, but unfortunately my health is not up to par. Hey, tell me, how did we encounter such a thing? You know what my mother said? She said, "Ah, Josei Kang and I can meet and get married together, which means that we must have enjoyed too much blessings in the previous life, and in this life, God wants to take some away. Hey, I don't know if it will be cured in the end. If we can't cure it all the time, I can't have a baby in this life. I don't know what to do. Siblings and sisters. Yutao grabbed Chuxia's little hand. Your elder brother and I probably won't be able to satisfy the elder's desire to have grandchildren for a while, so we have to rely on you. Sister-in-law. Chuxia interrupted her, studying her carefully. What's the matter? Sister-in-law, just tell me, don't get involved with me here. Go around. Yutao shook his head. I didn't go around, I was just chatting with my younger siblings. Calling, Chuxia chuckled. Sister-in-law, are you in the mood to chat with me at this time? Tell me, what's the matter? It's really nothing. Yutao's expression became visibly tense. I'm just going to move, and I'm reluctant to give up, nagging with the elders, and afraid of making them sad, thinking that my younger siblings haven't lived here for a long time, and the relationship is not so deep. I chattered with my siblings, hee hee. Really? Chuxia looked at her suspiciously, and always felt that something she said was not quite right. Although she didn't spend too much time with Yutao, the general impression was that she was quiet, loved to laugh, and had a good temper. Well, anyway, the Yutao she knew was very different from the Yutao who was rambling here and there now, with no edges or eaves. Really? Yutao held Chuxia's hand tightly again. Who else can I talk to except you? If I talk to Jiping, she can kill me. Thinking of Zhou Jiping. Chuxia also felt a little uncomfortable. Knowing herself, Zhou Jiping gave her the impression of straightforwardness and kindness. A very sunny woman. I didn't know until 2 days ago that the reason why she is often at her mother's house. It's because, after getting married, I have never had a baby, and I couldn't stand my mother-in-law's nagging, so I hid back to my mother's house to enjoy leisure. Secretly, Lin Yangqiu and Mrs. Zhou kept persuading her, meaning to let her spend more time with her mother-in-law. She had nothing to do to go and see her husband. The only thing she could do was spend more time with her and strengthen her relationship. To conceive a baby sooner. Zhou Jiping also listened to it and did the same, but in the end, it still developed in a worse direction. Especially when something went wrong during this time, Zhou Jiping's mother-in-law and father-in-law treated her even worse. As for Zhou Jiping's husband, he never came to Zhou's house even once. In other words, she still doesn't know the name of Zhou Jiping's husband. Just because she knew, she paid more attention to Zhou Jiping. I found that her smile is often hard to reach the eyes, that is to say, she is smiling. But my heart is bitter. One can imagine how important a child is to a woman, especially in this age. Although Zhou Jiping married an ordinary family, if she can't give birth to a baby, it is estimated that the status at home will become lower and lower. Ultimately, it may lead to the dissolution of the marriage. If Zhou Jiping has a bad personality, that's fine, but she is such a kind woman, and looking at Yutao in front of her, she is also kind. Could it be that in this age, there are so many infertile people? In the past, she didn't remember how many infertile people were around her, or was it because she didn't pay attention? Chuxia sighed and stood up. Sister-in-law, let's go down. Yutao also regretted that the topic she picked was too boring, and was thinking hard to find a new topic, when she saw Chuxia stood up, and grabbed her anxiously. Sister, sit down for a while, there are too many people down there, it's too messy, don't go down, just sit for a while, when the car comes, it will call us. No need. Chuxia didn't want to stay with her anymore, this feeling was too depressing. Siblings, Yutao held her tightly, sweat dripping down her forehead. Although Chuxia has little experience, she is not stupid. Judging from Yutao's performance, she knows that there must be something down there that she doesn't want her to see. Sister-in-law, what's the matter, tell me. It's nothing. Yu Tao was still gritting her teeth stubbornly. There must be something. Chu Xia fixedly looked at her. Sister-in-law, you don't know what to say to me, and you have no choice but to use that matter as an issue. To put it bluntly, you just cut your own flesh with a knife and show me the excitement. In this situation, if you say it's okay, do you think I will believe it? Yu Tao sighed. Brother and sister, wait a little longer, okay? What's the matter, tell me. Yamiru is here. Yu Tao bit her lip. She is talking to grandma. Mom is afraid that you will feel uncomfortable if you see it, so let me come up to accompany you, and she will decide when to call us down depending on the situation. Yamiru is here. Chu Xia was taken aback for a moment. Is that Yamiru who did something wrong to Zhou Mikang? Yes, Yu Tao nodded. Grandma used to have a good relationship with her, so it's hard to ignore her. I know. Chu Xia lifted his feet and walked out. I'm really curious, what does Yamiru look like? Really, such a good opportunity was blocked from seeing me. Oops, fortunately I found out, almost, just missed it. Yu Tao, who was following her, looked anxious. Siblings. Chu Xia hurriedly turned around to comfort her. Don't worry, I won't be jealous or rowdy, I'm just curious. Let's see who looks better, me or her, hee hee. Yu Tao, there must be something wrong with her eyes, otherwise, how could this brother and sister smile so happily? Isn't it because of jealousy? Comparing her heart to her heart, she felt that if a woman had a marriage contract with Josei Kang, she would definitely feel very uncomfortable if she came to her at this time, or else, this dear brother and sister were too young to know how to be jealous. Chu Xia is now really more curious than anything else. For this legendary woman, she had heard more than one person mention it. To make both Zhou Mikang and Mei Yitong like it, she must be a beauty, right? Well, she admitted that she was gossiping, and she didn't want to prove that she was better looking than the other party. She was just curious, and wanted to see with her own eyes what a goddess of this era looked like. Downstairs. There are a lot of boxes and boxes piled up in a pile, and a group of sofas is left alone. It's very conspicuous. A young woman was smiling and pulling Mrs. Zhou to talk happily. Long black hair. Braided into two big braids and hung to the chest, this dress seems to be a classic dress of this era, but the ends of this woman's braids are curly. The skin is fair, and under a willow leaf eyebrow, there is a pair of watery almond eyes. At this time, it widened, showing a trace of tenderness and pitifulness. The bridge of the nose is a little slumped, but it is very straight, the lips are thin, and the teeth seem to be straight. Sitting, I can't see the height, but according to Yuja's visual estimation, it is about 1.7 meters. Not really fat. But it is slightly strong. Well, it fits the aesthetics of this era, but in the eyes of Chu Xia, it is very disappointing. Or the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment? It was passed on and on by everyone. The image of Yamiru in her heart is that kind of enchanting and beautiful woman, but this woman sitting below. Not voluptuous at all. No wonder Mrs. Zhou likes her so much, if she is put together with that woman. I believe that most women will like that woman who is too upright. Is there any? Chu Xiaolin Yang Kai saw Chu Xia who was going downstairs, and hurried forward to hold her arm, and cast a reproachful glance at Yu Tao. Mom, I'm the one who wants to come down, Chu Xia hurriedly said, and pointed to where the old lady was sitting. I'm a little curious, I want to come down and see what Zhou Mikang's former fiancé looks like. Seeing that Chu Xia spoke calmly and showed no signs of anger, Lin Yangkai breathed a sigh of relief, and explained to Chu Xia, like Yu Tao, your grandma has a good relationship with her. We haven't seen each other for several years, so it's not easy to let her go. Mom, I know. Chu Xia smiled, I can't stipulate that our family members are not allowed to talk to her, can I? Besides, Grandpa Ye is a good person, even if it is for Grandpa Ye, we can't treat her too much bad, right? Yes, Lin Yangkai let out a long sigh of relief. Hearing what you said, Mom is really relieved. Hey, just now I let you Tao go up, Mom has been worried. I've always felt sorry for you, and I really don't want you to add trouble to my heart. To be honest, in this regard, my mother is not as good as you. If my mother sees such a woman approaching, she will definitely be furious and beat her out. Really? Chu Xia blinked and lowered her voice. Mom, are you kissing me or her now? Is there still a need to ask? Can Mom tell me what she said to Grandma? What else can I say? That is, how regretful she is after leaving, how much hardship she has suffered in these years, and now she is finally back, how much she wants to make up for it. What else can I say besides these? Chu Xia rolled her eyes, that is to say, at this moment, she wants to marry Zhou Mikang again. She can marry if she wants. Lin Yangkai curled her lips. Don't worry, Chu Xia, no matter what score she plays, Mom will always be on your side, and your grandma will definitely be on your side, too. She is now. I haven't seen her for so many years, so I just talked to her a few words. I know. Chu Xia glanced around. Where's Grandpa and the others? Grandpa went to Grandpa Jing's house. Your second uncle and second aunt are packing up, and Xiahua is helping them. This is Chu Xia, right? Or hearing the voice, Yamiru stood up, pointed at Chu Xia with a smile and asked, looked her up and down, then covered her mouth and smiled. Grandma, why does she look so small? Xia, come here, Mrs. Zhou shouted. Grandma, I packed it. Chu Xia affectionately pulled Lin Yangkai to sit opposite Mrs. Zhou, and nodded politely to Yamiru. Hi, welcome to my house as a guest. You don't need to be so polite. I used to come here often. This is basically my home. Yamiru continued to laugh. How old are you? Are you 18? What do you mean? Chu Xia smiled lightly. Why does Miss Ye care so much about my age? No, I remember that Mimi likes mature and stable people. When I heard that he got married, I thought he found a mature and stable one. I didn't expect that you are so young. You look like a middle school student. Xia, come and sit next to Grandma. Mrs. Zhou pointed to the seat next to her and emphasized again. Grandma, I'll just sit here. Chu Xia didn't move. Are you mad at Grandma? Mrs. Zhou laughed. Little thing, she is not very old. She has a lot of temper, and I haven't seen Myru in so many years. You won't let Grandma kick her out as soon as she comes. Let's go. No, no, Chu Xia hurriedly waved her hand. I just think that Ms. Ye has come all the way. Out of politeness, it's better to talk to her. Since Grandma likes me to sit next to me, I'll sit next to her. As he spoke, he moved to Mrs. Zhou's side, and he helped her straighten out the messy corners. Is everything packed? The old lady asked. Have you put away that wedding photo of you and Xiaomi? Okay, that's good. Xiaomi is the most precious photo. If I know that you value it, I will be very happy. Oh, this child, I don't know how much I have suffered. Fortunately, I married such a good wife as you, or else, alas. Grandma, I didn't do anything. Having you at home with us is better than anything else. Listening to the questions and answers from the old lady and Chu Xia, Yamiru's face became more and more rigid. After she was thrown out by Zhou Mikang, she was very unwilling. He went straight to Zhou's house. Originally, she thought that Mrs. Zhou would scold her, but since meeting, the old lady asked her kindly how she has been these years. The concern is beyond words. This made her feel determined immediately. She knows old lady Zhou very well, and what she likes the most is a girl with a good appearance like her. Moreover, as long as she recognizes someone, she will not change easily. According to her side knowledge, Mrs. Zhou did not know the truth about her separation from Zhou Mikang back then. So, as long as she behaves well, it is not impossible for Mrs. Zhou to force Zhou Mikang to marry her back home. She thought of two ways. both of which were to help Jo Mi-kang. One is to accompany him to suffer. One is to exchange him for nothing. If she could, of course she wanted to choose the first one, but if the first one didn't work, she would choose the latter one, and it would be good for him to live in guilt for her all his life. Marrying him is to accompany him to endure hardships, but his performance has blocked this way. She can only pin her hopes on Mrs. Jo, but now, Mrs. Jo's performance is clearly telling her, she has accepted Lin Chuxia, Jo Mi-kang's new wife. She kept talking about Chuxia's age just now, because she knew that Mrs. Jo didn't like young and ignorant girls, and thought that such girls didn't know how to take care of others and couldn't give Jo Mi-kang the best care. Unexpectedly, before her smile reached the corner of her mouth, she was slapped back to its original form by the old lady. "Grandma, I have other things to do, so I won't bother you here." Yamiru stood up and said goodbye with a smile. "I'll come to see Grandma another day." "Go and do your work," Mrs. Jo said with a smile. "However, next time you visit Grandma, you won't be able to come here. This place probably won't belong to Joe's family for a while." "That's not necessarily true." Yamiru looked at Chuxia. "Can I trouble Comrade Lin to see me off?" Mrs. Jo looked at Chuxia. "Daughter-in-law Xiaomi, would you like to go?" The corner of Chuxia's mouth twitched. The old lady is also interesting. Is this a deliberate way to emphasize her identity? By the way, it's all about this, can she say no? In fact, she is very happy to go, it is rare to have such a plot. She especially wants to verify whether this tough fiancé will threaten her to leave Jo Mi-kang, blah blah blah. As a result, just as she finished answering, the door opened, and Zhou Zhonkang and Mei Xiaofeng came in. She met Zhou Zhonkang once, and she didn't know Mei Xiaofeng, but Liang Xiaohong visited her son and daughter-in-law today, so she can roughly guess the identity of the other party. "Why are you here?" Before she could greet her, Mei Xiaofeng spoke first, and Chuxia followed her gaze to compare. It wasn't her, it was Yamiru, so she moved aside. Yamiru's face was also a little unhappy. "I'm here to see Grandma Jo." After saying that, she turned her head to say goodbye to Mrs. Jo, and quickly left. "This, do you want her to give it, or don't you want her to give it?" Chuxia stood there in a daze, a little embarrassed. She turned around and asked, "Grandma, she ran away, should I go see her off?" "Come back," the old lady said. Zhou Zhonkang also brought Mei Xiaofeng over with Chuxia, and sat opposite the old lady. "Grandma, this is Mei Xiaofeng, your granddaughter-in-law." "Xiaofeng, have you received everything your mother gave you?" "Got it, thank you Grandma." Mei Xiaofeng hesitated, but said, "Grandma, Yamiru came to see you because of Brother Joe's business, right?" After edited. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 274. 2 chapters combined. The old lady Jo glanced at Chuxia before answering Mei Xiaofeng's question. "I didn't say clearly that I came to Joe's house specially for Xiaomi, but the meaning behind the words is quite obvious." The old lady was not surprised that Mei Xiaofeng knew Yamiru. As Mei Yitong's younger sister, it would be strange if she didn't know Yamiru. "Grandma, do you still like her that much now?" Seeing that the old lady was observing her expression again, Chuxia asked straightforwardly. At her age, it would be abnormal for her to act too aggressively. As far as the matter is concerned, when Jo Mi-kang proposed to her, she had no affection for him at all. Agreeing to her was also considering her parents and her own survival in this era. But then everything he did moved her a little bit. From her point of view, his being with her was a deal, so she never made preparations for him to consider everything for her and her family. However, he really did that. Not only did it, but he did it more than others. His respect for her and her family moved her from the bottom of her heart. However, there is still a very long way to go before falling in love with him, so when Yamiru came, she didn't feel jealous at all, she was just curious. However, with her performance like this, it is estimated that both Mrs. Joe and Lin Yangkai will feel uncomfortable. Why should such an excellent grandson, son, become dispensable to her? Therefore, it is right to coax the elders by eating a little vinegar appropriately. Grandma just pities her. The old lady reached out and pulled Chu Xia to her side. He took her hand affectionately. Don't worry. Grandma hasn't reached the point of being old and foolish yet. She's not worthy of pity, Mei Xiaofeng said eagerly, her eyes twinkling. It was uncontrollable anger. Grandma, this is the first time I came to the door today, so I shouldn't say anything, but since I met you, I can't pretend I didn't see it. When we were moving, I accidentally found a letter from Yamiru to my brother. The letter said that she actually likes my brother. To Jojo, it was only because of his parents' orders. He also said that if my brother didn't work hard to be with her, he didn't love her enough. If it wasn't for her, how could my brother and Jojo have always been incompatible? A woman like her simply wishes that all the men in the world would beat her to death. Why do you pity her for such a woman? I don't think it's enough for her. The old lady Joe frowned slightly. This matter. Have you asked your brother? Of course I asked. Mei Xiaofeng sighed softly. My brother scolded me because I thought I read letters without his permission and grew up so big. That was the first time my brother scolded me. I know, he scolded me. Not because I read his letter privately, but because I said Yamiru was shameless. At that time, my brother was very sure. Yamiru likes him, so. Later, after Yamiru broke up with brother Jojo, he really wanted to be with her wholeheartedly. Unexpectedly, just when my brother wanted to live a happy life with Yamiru, Yamiru's foreigner boyfriend came over. Yamiru lied to my brother that the foreigner was just her suitor, not her boyfriend. My brother believed her so much, so he beat up the foreigner. As a result, things got serious and my brother was arrested. Where is Yamiru? But quietly followed the foreigner away. Later I found out that it was Grandpa Ye who thought she was ashamed and kicked her out, but no matter what, she knew why my brother wanted to beat that foreigner. Why couldn't she testify for my brother before leaving? You must know that my grandfather almost gave up on my brother that time. If my brother hadn't been doing well all the time, my parents and my uncles and aunts all helped to intercede, my brother would have been ruined by him. Grandma, if you did something wrong, shouldn't you take responsibility? Such a woman, why do you pity her? Mrs. Joe had never heard anyone mention these things, so she looked at Lin Yangkai with suspicion. Mom, it's true. During that time, you were in poor health. Miru is your favorite granddaughter-in-law. If you know what she did, it will be a blow. Lin Yangkai sighed and didn't continue. God knows how hard she endured. Every time she heard the old lady talking about Yamiru, her heart felt like a blunt knife was cutting her heart. What that woman brought to her son was not only hurt, but also humiliated. If it wasn't for the old lady's scruples, she wouldn't have let her enter Joe's house at that time. You guys, the old lady shook her head helplessly, it's really overkill. I like her and treat her well because I think she is a quiet, upright, and dedicated girl. Alas, fortunately, it didn't make a big mistake. Otherwise, we will all regret it. Yes, it's all our fault. Lin Yangkai hastily admitted his mistake. Okay, I can't blame you all for this matter. In my memory, there have been a few times when you just said something bad to that child, and I got angry at you. Come to think of it, you can't say it if you want to. In fact, I didn't protect her at that time because I liked her too much, but I felt that it was already a shameful thing for a girl to dissolve her engagement. If I made some other excuses, where would I put my face? Besides, Xiaomi's temperament has been stubborn since she was a child, so I thought with all my heart that Xiaomi must have done a bad job and hurt her heart, so we couldn't be together. Well, speaking of which, I really don't blame you guys, it's all because I was confused at the time, and I think people are pretty accurate, the old lady said and looked at Mei Xiaofeng. Son, Grandma, thank you, if it weren't for you, Grandma would have done this. Maybe I will be confused for a lifetime. The old lady's serious expression made Mei Xiaofeng feel embarrassed. Grandma doesn't think I'm too talkative. Xiao Zhong Mrs. Zhou looked at Zhou Zhongkang. Treat Xiaofeng well in the future, it is your good fortune to marry her. Zhou Zhongkang nodded. Don't worry, Grandma, she is the best person in this world to me. You child. Mrs. Zhou laughed twice, with a helpless expression on her face. Are you still hating your father and your grandfather? Sigh. Forget it, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Xiao Zhong, have you been angry all the time? Auntie didn't bring you. Lin Yangkaiu, grateful for Mei Xiaofeng's help in exposing Yamiru's matter, took the initiative to bring up the matter that had always made Zhou Zhongkang feel uncomfortable. Zhou Zhongkang's face was light. Uncle, I have no right to blame you. I'm not angry with you. It's because my father doesn't value me. It has nothing to do with you. I can tell from your appearance that you are angry with my auntie. Lin Yangkaiu sighed. Did you always think that in those years, I took their 4 brothers and lived in my mother's house? Zhou Zhongkang didn't say anything, but his meaning was very obvious. Lin Yangkaiu continued, actually, how can my natal family support us? In these years, apart from my eldest sister Lin Yanmei, have I ever been in contact with other people in the family? Including Xiaomi's marriage, it is only my eldest sister's family. Come here, why? Don't you have any doubts? After hesitating for a while, Zhou Zhongkang said, I'm not here, I don't know. The old lady Zhou waved her hand. Yangkaiu, forget it. With a good daughter-in-law like Xiaofeng, one day, Xiao Zhong will understand the people in this family. Whether she is close to him or not. Mom, it's okay. After all these years, I've figured it out. Instead of covering it up and letting the children misunderstand, it's better to make it clear. Everyone feels relieved. The old lady Zhou patted Lin Yangkaiu comfortingly. Chu Xia, Mom has wanted to talk to you about this for a long time. Lin Yangkaiu looked at Chu Xia. When you got married, grandparents and aunts didn't come. Are you unhappy? There were so many people that day, I was so dizzy that I didn't recognize them all. Chu Xia smiled embarrassedly. How could there be any displeasure? Lin Yangkaiu patted her head amusedly, then turned to look at Zhou Zhongkang. Xiao Zhong, you hate my aunt. My aunt has always known about it, but my aunt can't say anything about it. Your mother and your father can't tell you what to do with your uncle. Let me tell you about my natal family's short story, and I will always let you misunderstand it. In our family, my eldest sister and I have been disliked by our parents since we were young. The 3rd and 4th younger sisters are the treasures of our parents. As for why, I really can't explain it. Probably, parents' likes and dislikes for their children are also innate. After I married into the Zhou family, my parents hoped that I could get my 3rd and 4th younger sisters to be with your father and your 3rd uncle. How could I agree to such a thing? The 3 sisters all married into the Zhou family, so what's the matter? After your father married your mother, my parents' attitude towards me became much colder. Later, after your 3rd uncle got married, they told me directly that they don't have to go home in the future. I'm also stubborn, and if they refused to let me go back, I really wouldn't go back. As a result, not long after, the Zhou family encountered that great catastrophe, and in an instant, the whole family was separated. I was not sent down, not because of the glory of my natal family, but because the old leaders of our unit knew about my relationship with my natal family, took pity on me, and transferred me to the canteen as an ordinary worker. The backbone of the business was transferred to the cafeteria, and the spittle star could almost drown people. However, if you don't make such a transfer, it's impossible to keep me. Other people's children are taken care of by their natal family, but my family's children are not taken care of. I have to bear it. That year your eldest brother was 10 years old, your second sister was 9 years old, your third brother was 8 years old, your fourth sister was 7 years old, and Xiao Rao was 5 years old. With the little salary I earned, I couldn't support 5 of them. I remember one time when I got up in the morning, your fourth sister said to me, "Mom, I was dreaming that I was eating dried rice, but unfortunately I woke up before I was full. If I woke up later, I wouldn't have to eat breakfast." I couldn't stop crying. Later, it was your eldest brother who took a matchbox from a classmate's house to help with the paste, and the situation barely improved, but it is an extravagant hope to feed all 5 children. My eldest sister, who has the best relationship with me, lives with my parents-in-law and a large family. She is powerless to help us. The only thing she can do is to take HandsomeMaleLead to my house at night and help us paste matchboxes together. I didn't want to make everyone worry, so I lied to everyone that seeing us in trouble, my mother's family helped let the 4 of them live there, but in fact, it was our mother who was suffering all the time. Xiaozhong, you live in your uncle's house. Although the conditions may not be very good, they are definitely better than ours. Therefore, if my uncle really brought you with me at that time, it would actually harm you. The purpose is to unravel Zhou Zongkang's knot in his heart, so Lin Yangkai will stop talking about it here. Zhou Zhongkang said half-believingly, "Auntie, if this is the case, why doesn't anyone in the family know about it?" "Your auntie, you just want to save face and suffer," Mrs. Zhou sighed. "She thinks about it now, so I can tell the truth. Didn't she and your auntie Zhu keep climbing up and down? At that time, your auntie Zhu was also released, and she just wanted to compete with your auntie Zhu Jian, just lied and said that she has been living in her natal family, and her natal family helped raise the children. Your elder brother and his 5 brothers and sisters have suffered so much, they are more sensible than other children, and they know how to love your aunt. Just keep silent and don't mention it. Your parents know it, but they are kind-hearted and don't mention it. Only your grandfather and I know at home, so the news will naturally not spread. I know you must be wondering why the Lin family didn't expose your aunt. This is a matter of embarrassment to them. Do you think they will expose it?" After a long silence, Zhou Zhongkang got up. He solemnly bowed to Lin Yangkai. "Uncle, I'm sorry, I blamed you. You always think that your grandfather is looking after your third brother, but in fact, everything your third brother has is earned by himself." Alas, Mrs. Zhou sighed heavily. "If you know what happened to him, you will understand how wrong you are." Zhou Zhongkang is still trying to digest everything the old lady said. Mei Xiaofeng stood up. "Grandma, auntie. Thank you. I know that you are telling these old things because of me. I assure you that no matter whether my family agrees or not, no matter whether the Zhou family's matter is serious or not, I will firmly be by Zhou Zongkang's side. I will also do my best to let him return to his loved ones, so that he will no longer be foolishly paranoid. In fact, he is not a disrespectful person. He only hurts others and hurts himself because of his misunderstanding. Don't say too much, let's see our actions in the future." "Xiaofeng, thank you so much." Liang Xiaohong ran down the stairs dong dong dong, came to Mei Xiaofeng's side in 2 or 3 steps, and hugged her tightly. Mei Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment, and said, "Mom, I want to thank Auntie." She would rather expose her scars in order to open up Zhou Zongkang's heart. "Sister-in-law, thank you." Liang Xiaohong turned her arms around Lin Yangkai. Lin Yangkai smiled and patted her on the back. "Why are you being polite to me? Xiaofeng is the lucky star of our family." Liang Xiaohong choked and said, "Being able to marry a daughter-in-law like Xiaofeng is a blessing that I have cultivated in several lifetimes, and it is a blessing that I have cultivated in several lifetimes. Mei Xiaofeng's face turned red, and she glanced at Zhou Zhonkong charmingly. After hesitating for a while, Zhou Zhonkong coughed lightly. "Mom, where is my dad?" "Have you figured it out?" Zhou Gangping's majestic voice came. Or because of the different mentality, Zhou Zhonkong actually heard the slight tremor in his father's voice. For the first time, he discovered that it was not that his father didn't value him, but just like him, he was not good at showing emotions. "Dad, I'm sorry." For the first time, Zhou Zhonkong rewarded Zhou Gangping indifferently and mercilessly. "It's good to know that you're wrong." Obviously very excited, Zhou Gangping pretended not to care and waved his hand. "Take your wife to your room to see what you have packed." Understood. Zhou Zhonkong pulled Mei Xiaofeng upstairs, and when he passed by Zhou Gangping, Mei Xiaofeng smiled generously at Zhou Gangping. "Dad." And Zhou Gangping nodded, and sat down opposite Mrs. Zhou seemingly calmly. "Pretend, pretend, pretend." Mrs. Zhou frowned and stared at him. "He was not close to you before, you only scolded him, but now you have found a good wife and finally got close to you, you still pretending." "Then." Zhou Gangping rubbed his head embarrassingly. "Then what should I do? I'm his father, so I can't hug him and cry like his mother, right?" You have the same temper as Zhou Jingping." Fortunately, Xiaomi met Chu Xia, and the relationship between father and son improved. Lin Yangqiu said, slapping her forehead. "Mom, you said our family is quite blessed." The two daughters-in-law come in, changed the tempers of the two brats. "That's right." Mrs. Zhou smiled, and sighed again. "However, the affairs of Xiaofeng's family are not easy to handle. After all, there are some problems between us and the Mei family." Hearing what she said, Liang Xiahong's eyes dimmed. She still wanted to go to her in-laws to discuss it, and hold a wedding for the two juniors in a serious way. Now it seems that it is really difficult. Political views are different, and the Zhou family is at its lowest ebb again. How can the Mei family agree? The door opened, and it was Mr. Zhou who came back, and his expression was not very good. The old lady Zhou said, "What happened again? You stretched your face so long." Mr. Zhou sighed heavily. "The surname Wang pushed all the problems on our family, on the boss and Xiaomi. I was really blind before." "Didn't you already know?" Mrs. Zhou looked at him speechlessly. As for, we couldn't find the house at all. Xiaoxi and the third child couldn't find the house. They were afraid that we would be worried, so they called Lao Jing for help." "I heard it. Lao Jing suggested that we all move to his house, but I don't think it's appropriate." "It's not appropriate." Mrs. Zhou nodded. "Even if you go to a hotel, you can't implicate them." "Did Zhu Xingkan say something?" Lin Yangqiu couldn't help asking. "Say it." Mr. Zhou looked at the eldest daughter-in-law. "She asked me to tell you that at this time, she is your sister. If she wants to fight you, you have to wait until the Zhou family turns around and you have the energy to do so." "Alas," Lin Yangqiu sighed heavily, and said nothing more. Mrs. Zhou glanced at her, moved her lips, but said nothing in the end. She's not a child anymore, she understands the truth, or maybe that's a way of getting along with them. She'd better stay out of it. Sitting there in early summer, I feel uncomfortable all over, at this moment. It's like she can't help anything, that feeling. Really bad." Feeling her uneasiness, the old lady hugged her shoulder and patted her. "Silly boy. Your grandpa can't do anything, what can you do? At this time, it's the best for us if you can stay firmly in Zhou's house. Help." When the Zhou family was struggling with security issues, Yamiru found Mei Yitong. "Seeing you again after more than 5 years," Mei Yitong looked at the woman in front of him, feeling like he was in a dream. Once, he loved her so much that he thought she was the best woman in the world, but she gave him the loudest slap in the face. The day he was imprisoned, he felt a valley in his heart. If he hadn't been rescued by his family 3 days later, or his life might have been ruined. I'm sorry. Yamiru hesitated, grabbed Mei Yitong's arm, and tears rolled down. I know, you will hate me, I know, you must think I was too heartless back then, leave you and leave, but in fact, I was forced, I was sent out by my grandfather forcibly, I have no chance to speak for you at all, forgive me, okay. I don't hate you. Mei Yitong pulled out his arm calmly, and pointed to the chair on the other side of the table. Sit down and talk. Yamiru lowered her head pitifully. I knew that you would hate me. In the past few years, I have been thinking about this problem all the time. Do you know how hard I have been? I will never come back. I am alone. I'm outside, I don't have a job, I don't have living expenses. If I don't have a firm belief to support me, I probably wouldn't be able to live today. Speaking of this, she paused, and quietly glanced at Mei Yitong out of the corner of her eyes, and found that he was sitting there quietly without making a sound, so she could only continue, I look forward to seeing you again one day, and to say sorry to you. I look forward to seeing you again. You will forgive me, and then tell me that you still love me and are willing to let me be your bride. Yitong, is this already my extravagant wish? What do you mean you went to find Zhou Mikang, then went to Zhou's house, and then came to me again? Mei Yitong looked at her with a half smile. Could it be that I, Mei Yitong, are a big fool in your heart? Yamiru's eyes lit up. Are you jealous? You think too much. Mei Yitong waved his hand. I already know what you have done. I, Mei Yitong, did like you once, and thought that you would not marry me, but after knowing what you did in the future, if I still think that way, there is a 10% chance that I have a brain problem. What have I done? Yamiru looked at him pitifully. Did you misunderstand me? Did you think that Joyce was my boyfriend? Yamiru, you make me sick. Mei Yitong looked at her with a frown. You said that the man pestered you and asked me to drive him away. I believe it. However, at the same time I was arrested, you and him started to have sex. It was because of your shamelessness that your grandfather kicked you out of the family, but you blamed your grandfather. Now what is a misunderstanding? Do you think that as long as you pretend to be pitiful and tell a few lies, I have to believe you? Ah! Yamiru looked at Mei Yitong fixedly. Her eyes were full of despair. She thought that maybe he would miss the old love, then, as long as he was willing to make a move, Zhou Mikang would not have to suffer disaster, and she would not have to take the worst step. It seemed that she had to take that step. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 275. Wait, looking at the figure of Yamiru who was about to arrive at the door, Mei Yitong couldn't help but call out to her. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that her expression was full of determination. The woman I once liked hates her for being ruthless, but I don't want her to do anything that I regret for the rest of my life. Yamiru turned around, looked at Mei Yitong fixedly, and didn't speak. This made Mei Yitong feel uncomfortable, coughed lightly, and asked, "What's your plan next? If it's convenient, please tell me." You softly spit out a word, paused for a while, returned to the table, sat down, stared at Mei Yitong softly. Do you still care about me? Even if we can't be lovers, we are still friends. I don't want you to do things that hurt yourself, Mei Yitong said. Hurt yourself? Yamiru sighed softly. Indeed, I don't even know what I've done all these years. What the hell am I trying to do? Do you want to know, who is it that I love? Mei Yitong looked out of the window somewhat evasively, without saying a word. From the beginning to the end, the one I love is Zhou Mikang, Yamiru said to herself. I came to you because I hope you can help him, at any price. Any price? Mei Yitong turned his head, frowned and stared at Yamiru. Really, any price? Yamiru nodded solemnly. Yes, as long as you can keep him safe, you can do whatever you want me to do. Of course, Mei Yitong could understand the hidden meaning in her words. He tried hard to suppress the anger in his chest, and asked, if you really love him so much, why did you do such a thing to hurt him back then? Why did you do it on purpose, make me and him turn against each other because of you? At that time, too young to understand, vermilion lips parted lightly. A light word sent Mei Yitong away. Understood now, Mei Yitong smiled sarcastically, it's about time you understood, he's married, you're sensible, he. If he doesn't get married, I can't come back. You know my grandpa's temper. If I come back when he's not married, my grandpa will immediately send me to a more remote place. I can't afford it, and I dare not bet on it, because I am afraid that I will never see him in this life. These years of life really made me understand that I love him, he is the best man in this world to me, and he treats me well. He didn't ask for anything in return, but I hurt him so badly. So, in my lifetime, I have to make it up, do all I can to make it up, if only he can forgive me. Even if it breaks me to pieces, I will not hesitate. It's great. It's just. Mei Yitong chuckled, what you want in the end. Is he the one who will marry you? Yes, this will be my dream, but. Yamiru sighed heavily, I won't force him, let's do whatever happens. Okay. Mei Yitong got up to see off the guests, I don't want to know what you plan to do next, goodbye. Goodbye. Yamiru didn't bother, she got up and left happily. Until her back disappeared, Mei Yitong still stood there in a daze. Stepping off the green leather train, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe hugged their arms unconsciously. The December day was already a bit chilly. They had just got off the hot train box in their jackets, and they felt a bone-chilling cold feeling. The hearts of the two of them also felt a bit cold to the bone. After they went back, they released the news that they were going to sell the house. At first, no one took it seriously. Later, the news spread by Lin Ziahua's mother and daughter spread, and people came to the door one after another. But they all keep the price extremely low, and want to take advantage of the opportunity to play the autumn wind. They needed money urgently to help the Zhou family, but they couldn't really treat my uncle's wishes as worthless things in vain. If it weren't for the help of Aunt Luo Gang Shun and Grandpa De Gang, or the people who came to the door and said sour words, there would be more. What made them feel cold was that Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin, as Lin Baohe's parents and Lin Chuxia's relatives, the first thing they did after they got the news of the Zhou family's distress, that is, they came to the gate of Lin Baohe and cursed loudly, saying that God has eyes and let them get retribution. How much hatred would it take to make trouble at such a time? What they couldn't accept the most was that they actually said that Chu Xia married an old man out of greed for wealth and honor, but the old man died suddenly, so it was all for naught. Those who went to the wedding wanted to help Chu Xia clarify. Unfortunately, at such a time, the evil of human nature is revealed. Everyone would rather believe Zhao Qian's mother and daughter's nonsense than believe the facts everyone said. Under great pressure, the couple finally sold the house. At this time, they didn't think about anything, they just wanted to sell the house quickly and help the Zhou family and their daughter. The house was bought by a county cotter, in his 40s, named Fang Quan, who was transferred from other places. His parents and father who came with him were not used to living in a city house, so they inquired and bought their courtyard. The price was right, and after the transaction was successful, the couple quickly took the money and returned to City A. After these days, they didn't know how the Zhou family was doing, and they really wanted to fly to Chu Xia's side in a hurry. But the problem is, the two of them are road idiots. When they came, they were picked up by a car, and when they returned, they were sent to the train station by Jingzhe. The couple couldn't recognize the way at all. Fortunately, they wrote down the detailed address of Mr. Wan's house. Along the way, they inquired while walking, and finally arrived at the courtyard where Mr. Wan lived in the middle of the afternoon. At any rate, after living here for a few days, the couple no longer lost their way when they entered the courtyard. Walking halfway, I saw my daughter supporting Mrs. Joe in front, and there was a woman accompanying her. Looking at her back, she should be Chu Xia's mother-in-law. Just as Zhao Yulan was about to open her mouth to call Chu Xia's name, Lin Baohe quickly stopped her. Don't shout, people in the city don't like to shout, so don't embarrass our family Xia. Almost forgot Zhao Yulan patted herself on the head annoyed. My brain is almost like a wooden stake, she said while speeding up her pace and chasing after her. Hearing the hurried footsteps from behind, Chu Xia turned her head reflexively, and then her eyes widened in shock. Father, mother, you. Dear family, we are back again. Zhao Yulan hastily stuffed the large bag in Lin Yangkai's hands. That's all we can get together, didn't we delay things? Brother Lin, sister-in-law. Lin Yangkai's voice was choked and she couldn't continue. The old lady Zhou looked at the couple with gratitude. You guys, you came at a very high time, thank you very much. Auntie, please don't thank us. Most of the money was given by the Zhou family. What we borrowed is limited, and we don't know if it will be useful. Alas, we want to borrow more, but... Thinking of the indifferent faces that refused, Zhao Yulan bit her lip and couldn't continue. Lin Baohe patted her and smiled at Mrs. Zhou. Auntie, where are you going? Borrowing money. Mrs. Zhou didn't hide it. You guys really helped a lot. Just an hour ago, Xiao Binky brought people to collect the house. For him, who must take revenge, he couldn't clean up the Jing family, so of course he wanted to vent his anger on the Zhou family who could deal with it. Therefore, after learning the news that the Zhou family's old house was going to be taken back, he couldn't care about anything else. People came to Zhou's old house. Zhou Zikang and Zhou Shanping did find a house with a fairly large area, but when they went to withdraw money, they found that the accounts of Zhou's family were blocked. The Zhou family usually provided food, and the family basically didn't have much cash on hand. Therefore, if they scraped together everything, it was barely enough for half a month's rent. In addition to the other half's rent, the whole family must eat, right? Now everyone is unemployed. Even if they find work and go home to work, they will not get paid so quickly. In desperation, Mr. Zhou had to take everyone out to move things, and Mrs. Zhou took Chu Xia and Lin Yangkai to borrow money from a few close friends. If the Zhou family wants to borrow money, they will definitely be able to, but this is really not an honorable thing. As an old lady of Zhou, it is very difficult to speak up for such a thing. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe didn't expect that when they came here at this time. After getting the exact answer from their daughter, the couple's heart that had been blocked for a long time was finally relieved. In any case, they finally got what they wanted to help. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 276. As soon as it arrives, I would like to thank Paris Fashion for a series of rewards. In the surgical inpatient department of the municipal hospital, Xiao Yuan was lying on the bed staring at the roof in a daze. The escort was a woman in her 40s, with a long, thin face and dead eyebrows. He really didn't want to look at it. I protested with my father, but unfortunately, his father seemed determined not to let Li Xiru come to accompany him. Squeak. The light sound of the door being pushed open did not change Xiao Yuan's posture. The nurses who came here often were not good looking, and he was not interested. Director, you are here. Well, let's go out. Hearing the escort greet his father, Xiao Yuan got up abruptly. Dad. Stretched his neck to look back, and then lay down on the bed again. Look at your worthless appearance, Xiao Bing glared at him. Sit up and talk. Dad, I'm a sick patient, Xiao Yuan said lazily. Your old man's family is completely finished. Xiao Bing handed him a divorce agreement. Sign it, there is no need to waste time with that woman anymore. Xiao Bing got up happily, and signed his name on the back without looking at it. Dad, I want to marry Li Xiru. I can't be cheap. That dead boy called Kuakuo, Xiru is mine. No, Xiaobing took out a few photos from his bag. Choose one from here. Dad. Xiaobing glared at him. There is no discussion. If you don't choose, I will make the decision for you, as if to take back the photo. Xiaoyuan snatched the photo. From the beginning to the end, the disappointment in the eyes could not be concealed. Dad, you arranged for Li Xiru to take care of me, didn't you just want to fulfill us? Why can't this work? Let her take care of you. It's to let the two of you get to know each other better and improve your relationship, but it's brother-sister relationship, not the kind you said. Let me develop a brother-sister relationship with her? Dad, don't you think your statement is ridiculous? You were young too, can you treat the girl you like as a younger sister? Xiao Binqi pointed to the divorce agreement. Yuan, don't you even ask who will take care of Shan Shan. Xiao Yuan waved his hand indifferently. Whatever you want, take whoever you like. As long as you don't live with that woman. Whatever it is, I've seen enough of that ugly bastard, Dad, and you haven't answered my question yet. You don't want to hit Li Xiru's idea. Dad, why? There's no reason, it's just not possible. I understand. Xiao Yuan stared at Xiao Binqi with a dazed expression. Aren't you too selfish? You're already at this age. You're still arguing with me for women. Are you my real father? No wonder you've been taking care of Li Xiru so much. I thought you were doing it for me, but it was for yourself. You make me sick. You rebellious son. Xiao Binqi pointed at his trembling hand. How did I give birth to such a rebellious son? Is your father like that? Huh. I won't let you be with her. For sure there is an unavoidable reason, you think. Dad feels good seeing you like this. Xiao Yuan poked his neck and asked, give me hope but stifle it in the cradle. Don't you think you are being too cruel to me? There is a last resort reason. Why can't you just tell me? Xiao Bing sighed heavily, walked to the door and opened the door, and saw that the escort, Sister Lu, was sitting on a chair in the distance, so he waved to her, and Sister Lu hurried forward. Director, what are your orders? Someone will notify me in advance. Yes, Director. Sister Lu stood up straight. I promise to complete the task assigned by the leader. Okay. Xiao Binqi nodded at her, turned around and closed the door, went back to the hospital bed, looked at Xiao Yuan, who was staring at him with an inquiring expression. Son, you are right, Dad was young too, of course he knows, it is impossible to treat the woman I like as a younger sister. Of course Dad knows how you feel about Xiru. Dad had no choice but to arrange her to take care of you last time. What do you mean by bringing Lin Xiahua and Zhao Qian to the hotel? Can Dad not know? But Yuan, the situation was uncertain at that time. Dad couldn't let you do that kind of thing. In order to stabilize you and let you not make Lin Chuxia's idea for the time being, Dad had no choice but to let Li Xiru, whom you have always missed, take care of you. It's just that Dad never thought that you would be so impatient. Jing Zhe beat you up with his assistant. Dad was very angry, but he was very lucky because... After a pause, Xiao Bing said, Li Xiru my daughter. What? Xiao Yuan stared blankly at Xiao Binqi, not believing his ears. Li Xiru is my daughter, your sister who is related by blood. Xiao Bing frowned and looked at Xiao Yuan. Otherwise, why would I take such good care of her? Xiao Yuan. I know, you may not be able to accept it for a while, but this is the truth. If you look closely, you will find that her nose and mouth are very similar to yours. Xiao Binqi sighed softly. This matter, you yourself, as long as you know, don't tell your grandparents. Xiao Yuan almost gritted his teeth and said, I already knew what I was thinking about her. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? You are too selfish. This is Dad's fault, but... Xiao Binqi sighed. Son, think about it, if you were me, would you be able to speak up? Besides, you are not sure when you are young. How can Dad know that you will really treat me? Xiru is in love. Back then, didn't you also like Zhou Yiping? The result? After 3 months of marriage, you can see enough of her. This is not a reason, it's just an excuse for you to cover up your selfishness. Have you ever thought about it? If something happens between me and her, it will be. If it gets out, will she and I still have the face to live? Xiao Binky looked at his son in surprise. In his opinion, if a substantive relationship happened, Li Xiru might not be able to accept it. As for his son, he was just annoyed at most, but he didn't expect that he would say this kind of words. This really surprised him too much. You don't have to look at me like that, I'm human too, and I have my own acceptable and unacceptable things, let me and my own sister. Xiao Yuan shuddered, I'm very grateful to Jingzhe now, if it wasn't for him, my whole life will be ruined. Son, I'm sorry. Xiao Binky said the sentence with rare sincerity. Forget it, Xiao Yuan waved his hand, I'm almost recovering, and my teeth are all healed, can I be discharged from the hospital? I'm shrinking here all day, I'm going crazy. Yes, Xiao Bing looked at him with a smile, from now on, you can do whatever you want. Xiao Yuan frowned, what does Dad mean? The Zhou family, it's up to us now. They have been completely abandoned by Lao Wang. Otherwise, how could we let them move out of the old house? Thinking of Zhou's family moving things outside the courtyard and being scolded by him, Xiao Bing got up. There was a smug smile on his face, didn't you look down on our Xiao family before? Now, it's not what I said. Where did they go? Suburb Xiao Binky's face became even more smug. They couldn't rent a house in the city even if they wanted to, and the one in the suburbs was the one I put in the water. Already moved there, Xiao Yuan's eyes lit up, Lin Chuxia went with her. Xiao Binky's face became gloomy, no, the old woman and the old man of the Zhou family moved to Wan's house. At this time, that old man dared to let them live in openly. It is clear that he is against us. Humph. Xiao Yuan was a little worried and said, in this way, the Zhou family still has a possibility. Son, no matter it's possible or not, we and the Zhou family are eternal enemies, so if you really fancy that woman, hurry up. Xiao Yuan smirked, Dad, I know, I want Zhou Mikang to be unable to lift his head for the rest of his life, ha ha ha. Jingzhe helped arrange the moving car. In early summer, I went with Jingzhe to help transport the things to the Zhou family's newly rented house in the suburbs, and then returned to Wan Lao's house. While loading the car, Wan Lao went to the door of Zhou's house in person and invited Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou. Lived in Wanjia. When such a thing happened suddenly, Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou were both in a bad mood, especially when they thought of moving. Xiao Binky pointed at their domineering appearance, and they panicked. Mr. Wan looked at the old couple apologetically, and said, if it wasn't for the fact that the family is a little smaller, there would be no need for them to move so far. Mr. Zhou hurriedly interrupted him, Brother Wan, I can't thank you enough for this. The old lady Zhou answered quickly, Brother Wan, we are grateful to you from the bottom of our hearts, whether it is because of early summer or other reasons, at this time, you can help us without avoiding suspicion, we are really grateful. At this moment, we just can't let go of it all at once. We are really, very disappointed that a comrade who once fought in the trenches told the Zhou family to throw it away and let that kind of villain come to take over the house. I really want to smile and talk to Brother Wan, but now I really can't do it. A friend in need is a friend. I really understand now, what is a friend in adversity. Mr. Wan interrupted her with a wave of his hand, your brother and sister are too polite. Chu Xia is also my granddaughter. When something happens to her in-law's family, how can I stand by and watch? Originally, you and Mr. Wang are on the same front. Hey, at this moment, since it's already like this, I don't have anything to worry about. Chu Xia said solemnly, Grandpa, you are my real grandfather. Of course Wan Lao glanced at her sideways, if it wasn't for your grandpa, would I have treated you like this? Lin Bao he rubbed his hands excitedly, Uncle Juan, to tell you the truth, Chusia has never been hurt by her grandpa since she was a child. I used to feel uncomfortable when I saw her envy her grandpa's loving granddaughter. Now, but well done, Uncle Juan, you are the real father of me and Yulan. Mr. Juan nodded. Well, don't just talk, show filial piety to me in the future. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 277. The second watch arrives. On a small path in Kanghe district, Kuakua walks side by side with the delicate and beautiful Li Ziru with a net of apples in his left hand and white sugar, peach cakes, and canned food in his right. Seeing the familiar neighborhood, he stopped abruptly. Xiao, are you? Take a closer look at him. Can I do this? Today is the day when he and Li Ziru confirmed their relationship and formally called on Li's father and mother. Li's father and Li's mother watched him grow up, but today's situation is different. Seeing the door, he felt his heart was about to jump out of his throat. Li Ziru was also nervous, so she really stood still and looked at the results: black pants and blue coat, short cropped hair, slightly fair face, a pair of eyes staring at her full of anxiety. This is the fruit brother she has liked since she was a child. She is going to marry him. Unconsciously, Li Ziru blushed, nodded in a concealed manner, and quickened her pace. The result took a deep breath and hurried forward to catch up. Li's father, Li Linking, and Li's mother, Li Xinwan, sat on the sofa, absent-mindedly chatting with Li Ziru's little friends Zhang Dabao and Yao Sini. Glancing at the time, Zhang Dabao stood up. Uncle Qing, Aunt Wan, Ziru, and Kuazi should be here soon, and Sini and I will go down to meet him. I haven't seen Kuazi for several years. I really miss him. Go, Li Xinwan waved her hands, stood up, and sat back down. Li Linking trembled. Don't panic, we watched the fruit grow up. Why are you panicking? Who is panicking? Li Xinwan gave her husband a blank look. It's obvious that you are panicking, you are out of tune. He. Li Linking smiled embarrassedly, looking forward to this day. I've been looking forward to it for too long. That kid Kuazi. He is a good boy, and we know all about it. Brother Cheng and sister-in-law Cheng are also good people, and they are appointed to treat Ziru. I am relieved to marry Kuazi. I am finally relieved. I'm relieved too. Li Xinwan sighed softly, but the misery in her eyes was not absent. Xinwan. Li Linking put his big hand on Li Xinwan's arm. Ziru will be happy. I know. She is our daughter, she will be happy. Be happy. I know. Li Xinwan bit her lip hard, not letting herself cry. Today is a good day, don't make it difficult for the children. Li Linking patted her on the back, got up and walked out. I'll go down and have a look too, you can adjust your mood. Seeing the door close, Li Xinwan held back tears for a long time, and quickly gunned them down. Thinking that her daughter and future son-in-law were about to enter the door, she hurried to the bathroom to pick up a towel. Gently wipe the tears on the face. The woman in the mirror is still delicate and beautiful, with thin eyebrows and winking eyes. A straight nose, red lips, and an exquisite curve that can't be covered by the fat clothes. Everything reveals a fatal temptation to men. If possible, she doesn't want such a face. Apart from suffering, this face did not bring her any other benefits. Teeth bit on lips. The smell of blood lingered in the mouth, and the pain and regret in my heart dissipated little by little. She smiled at the mirror. Li Xinwan walked out of the bathroom, took a long breath, and looked around the furnishings in the room again. Planning to go down to meet the future son-in-law. Hearing the voices getting closer, she stood at the stairs with a smile. Li Linking, who went upstairs with Guo Guo on his shoulders, was taken aback when he looked up to see his wife's smiling face, and then said, Guozei, your aunt is here to welcome you too. Did you see that? Everyone misses you. Aunt Wan, you are still so beautiful. Guo came up in 2 or 3 steps, bowed to Li Xinwan, and handed over the gift in his hand, a little heart. Please accept it, Aunt Wan. You really are a young man. Li Xiaoan felt her nose sore. Are your parents okay too? Well, if Xiru and I hadn't followed the rules, they would have come together. Guo smiled and said, when I left this morning, my parents followed me all the way, and went back reluctantly. It's true that they are all old neighbors and old friends. Where did they get so much talk? Just come here directly. Sigh, I really miss them. Aunt Wan, let's go inside and talk. You can't see the fruit, you won't see us anymore. Dabao yelled from below. Look at me, I'm confused. Li Xinwan hurriedly pushed the results into the room, then turned her head and gave her husband and daughter a blank look. You don't know to remind me, really? Li Xiru smiled and said, Mom is becoming more and more fond of acting like a baby. Before the two families separated, they had intended to make the two children a couple. Therefore, they came to the door only in accordance with the local customs. How could Li Linking and Li Xinwan find fault with him? After a few words, the couple agreed to Guo's marriage proposal, and decided to let the married couple come over early the next morning to discuss the matter of marriage. All the affairs of the family will be handed over to the elders. Being a father and mother is a quick temper. Now that the son's task of proposing marriage has been completed, they don't have to follow the rules and wait at home. They came to Li's house in the afternoon. However, according to the local customs, the family cannot discuss such matters in the afternoon, and the few of them just sat together to chat about the old days. The juniors went to another room to make a fuss. I haven't seen each other for a few years, but Kuo and Li Xiru's friends, Dabao and Cini, are married, and their love has crystallized for 3 months. However, Cini is tall and wears thick clothes, which can't be seen from the outside. Xiru is quite fulfilling. Cini looked at the results and smiled. Brother Kuazu, you don't know that you have been away for the past few years, and Xiru has lost all energy when seeing the sky. Since I contacted you, I have finally regained my energy. It's back. Dabao raised his hand. I will testify that what my wife said is completely true. Guo slapped his forehead fiercely. By the way, I just remembered the past, and I forgot to ask, why didn't you two go to work? Dabao and Cini looked at each other and laughed together. Isn't this just to welcome you? Li Xiru exposed. Brother Guo, don't listen to their nonsense. Both of them are workers in the glass factory, and they are both in Class B. Today is the night shift, and it's not time to go to work yet. Which glass factory? Guo asked. Jinghua. Dabao smiled naively. It's 2 stops away from your hospital. A few days ago, I heard from Xiru that you were in 401. I was envious, so I got out of the car and walked around your hospital. Son, but I'm not ashamed to inquire about you. I'm afraid your colleagues will find out and laugh at you. What's so funny about that? Kuo was speechless, and then remembered that Wu Jingbo wanted a pot-bellied vase for flower arrangement one day, and said, Dabao, are you on the assembly line or in security? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 278. Once it arrives, there will be another update. It will be later, dear friends. You can watch it tomorrow morning. I'm in charge of transportation. Dabao scratched his head and smiled innocently. The result was a bit inexplicable. What's the embarrassment in being in charge of transportation? Why is your face so red up to your neck? In the next second, Yao Cini solved the confusion of the result, and saw her glance at Dabao, curled her lips and said, that's really nice to say, and you're also in charge of transportation. You're just a guy who pulls sacks in the workshop, okay. That's transportation too. Dabao smiled shyly, his face turning purple. As a result, he didn't know much about the work of the glass factory, so he looked at Cine suspiciously. What kind of riddle are you playing? He, stupid, offended the workshop director, and was transferred from the security guard to the assembly line as a sack puller. The bottles sent to the terminal by the assembly line are neatly packed into sacks by ordinary workers, sewn tightly with hemp rope, and dragged to the side. To the packaging of the assembly line workers. Otherwise, the loss caused by the broken bottles on the turntable caused by the fact that there is nowhere to store the sacks shall be fully borne by the packers. Each packer is responsible for 2 single machines or 1 double machine. Each car can pull 7 packs, and each assembly line can hold 1 pack of bottles every 2 minutes, 30 packs in 1 hour, and 60 packs in 2 lines. It takes about 8 minutes to pull 7 bags in 1 car, and this is also determined. From the moment he took over, he couldn't stop for a moment. Do this job. Most of them are illiterates who have not gone to school or temporary workers recruited from the countryside, anyway. Everyone knows that this is the hardest, most tiring, lowest status, and least earning job in the factory. Unconvinced, Dabeo argued for himself. Other types of work can be done by ordinary people, but pulling sacks is not something ordinary people can do. Hurry up, you, don't put gold on your face. Cine frowned and stared at him. It's an honor for you to be simple-minded and strong-bodied. Dabeo's face fell down, his mouth puffed out and he stopped talking. I have watched these two bickering since I was a child, but I didn't expect it to be the same now that I got married. Could it be that this is the so-called happy couple? The result smiled helplessly. We haven't seen each other for several years, and I provoked you like this with a word. After this, shall I see you or not? Smile. Cine raised Dabeo's chin. Hurry up, give Kiwazi a smile, or he won't play with you in the future. Hey. Dabeo really grinned at Kiwakuo. You. Looking at the childish two people, Guo really didn't know what to say. The two of them, no matter how much they quarreled in the first minute, they will be able to make up immediately in the next minute. Lee Zairu looked at the results. Brother Kiwazi, we will do the same in the future, okay? Arguing like us. Cine had a funny face on her face. Xiao, are you? You're not out of your mind, you're living a good life, but you actually want to quarrel like us? I'm not arguing like you. I like your way of getting along without a Cold War. From my impression. Lee Zairu listened attentively. Lowering his voice, my father and my mother have quarreled every time. They have to fight for several days. That feeling is very bad. Uncle Ching and Aunt Wan are still arguing. Cine's eyes widened. In my impression, Uncle Ching leaves Aunt Wan behind everything. Why are they arguing? I don't quarrel now. When I was young, I used to quarrel a lot. Do you remember that every once in a while I would go to Brother Kiwaza's house to hang on? That's usually when my parents were in a Cold War. Ah, Zairu, you are very thoughtful. Sine tickled her funny. It never mentioned it, but we don't know anything about it. I don't have a heart. Lee Zairu sighed softly. You know how much my father loves me, but every time he and my mother quarrel, he doesn't even want to look at me. Whenever he ignores me, I am very scared, afraid that he will abandon me, and my mother don't want us. I am afraid that if I tell you, you will dislike me, so I dare not say. Fortunately, since I was in middle school, they have never quarreled again. As for me, I am older and know that they love me, so I can finally face this matter calmly. It turns out that every couple quarrels. I thought only our parents would quarrel. I said and looked at Guo, but Brother Guo, Xiao Ru's personality is not as careless as mine. When you are enduring, don't quarrel with her. As far as her character is concerned, if you ignore her, she will never take the initiative to talk to you. Dabeo preemptively said, okay, don't worry about it. Kiwaza's personality is not like mine, so he won't quarrel with Zairu. By the way, Kiwaza, you asked me if I was doing security work. What's the matter? Do you need my help? As a result, he didn't want to embarrass Dabeo, so he said, "It's nothing, I just asked casually." "You look down on brother, don't you?" Dabeo stared at the result dissatisfied. "I was transferred from the security guard, but my buddy is still working in the security guard." "Son, you have to tell the truth." "Okay, let me just say it straight, I want a big belly bottle of that kind. If it's convenient, you can ask someone to blow one for you. If it's not convenient, forget it." "Yo, it's quite romantic." Cindy smiled and tugged at Dabeo's ears. Before she could speak, Guo's mother walked in. "Cindy, you're married and still bullying Dabeo." Sini quickly let go, giggling, "And Xiang, he is so big, how dare I bully him, I just tickle him." "That's right, it's just tickling. A big mosquito bit my ear just now, and it turned red." "And Xiang, look at it." Dabeo stretched his neck towards Guo's mother mischievously, and Guo's mother slapped him. "Rough skin and thick flesh, who can bite you?" he said and looked at Guo. "Guo, I'm coming to make an engagement tomorrow morning, don't hang around here, let's go." Li Ziru hurriedly said, "And Xiang, let's go after dinner. The supply and marketing cooperative will be closed at a later date. We have to buy something for our engagement tomorrow." "Let's not go too far," Guo's mother said, looking at the result. "Have you asked for leave?" "I'll go to the teacher to ask for leave now." Guo glanced at the time and left. "If it's too late, the teacher will really be off work." "Slow down." Guo's mother hadn't finished speaking when she heard the door slam outside, and smiled helplessly. "Look at this kid, he's about to get married, and he's still so frizzy, Ziru, in the future, but it's up to you to take care of him." "And Xiang, I will." Li Ziru nodded blushingly, thinking of the fact that Kuo had prepared a vase for her just now. She felt sweet in her heart. As a result, he ran to the hospital in a hurry and opened the office door, only to find that Wu Jingbo was there alone. "Why are you here?" Wu Jingbo asked while checking the time. "It's not the teacher's night shift today, you don't know what to do at this hour. What are you running here for?" Looking at Wu Jingbo's calm eyes from the original frizzy and flustered mood, he immediately calmed down a lot, and finally grinned. "Where's the teacher?" "The teacher has something to ask for leave today." Squeak. As soon as Wu Jingbo finished speaking, the door was pushed open, and a fair man in his 40s walked in with a gloomy face. He put the notebook in front of Wu Jingbo forcefully. "Tomorrow, I will leave it to Jingzhe." "Yes, Director Liu. Also, tell him, don't ask for leave if you have nothing to do. As a doctor, the patient's recovery is the first priority. You always give up halfway and leave. How can you look like a doctor?" "Yes, Director Liu." Wu Jingbo looked at Lu Linan calmly. If the teacher hadn't been in a hurry, he wouldn't have asked for leave. "Please be considerate of Director Liu." Director Liu glanced at Wu Jingbo sullenly, turned around and walked out. "Director Liu, don't be angry." Guo hurriedly stopped him. "Jingbo is young and not very sensible, so don't be angry with her. Our teacher must be very grateful for the help of Director Liu. It is great to have a doctor like Director Liu. The blessings of the patients, in our hospital, who doesn't know Director Liu's medical skills and medical ethics, it is absolutely impossible to say no." Lu Linan's complexion improved slightly, but his tone was still unfriendly. "It's useless to put a high hat on me, I will respond truthfully. Director Liu, you are the one who loves the younger generation the most. Give us a chance, please." The result is flattering and he begs with a smile. "Director Liu, we will definitely learn from you and strive to become a qualified doctor as soon as possible." Lu Linan's gaze turned to Wu Jingbo. "I'm sorry, Director Liu, I can't speak with my brain, so don't be as knowledgeable as me. I promise, I will study hard in the future, learn from Director Liu, and strive to become a qualified doctor as soon as possible." Because of Jingzhe's thoughts, only then did he explain to him reflexively. In fact, Wu Jingbo regretted it when he said the words. Now that the result has won her a chance, She will not be stubborn. Director Lulinen has always been jealous, and he has infinite resentment towards his teacher, and he doesn't know if he will let go of his braids now. Wu Jing stared at Lulinen boisterously, with an uneasy expression on his face. Forget it, let's not take this as an example. Lulinen waved his hand at the two of them. It seems that I am careless with you, but in short, you know that I am doing it for your own good. Balabalabala. After Lulinen finished the education class for the two of them and went out, half an hour later, Wu Jingbo lay down on the table listlessly. Success, thank you, otherwise, I would have been fired by him. Guo Guo smiled and said, it is certain to file a criminal complaint, but the dean has his own ideas, so expulsion is not necessarily the case. As for me, I just want to avoid making trouble. By the way, do you know where the teacher lives? Well, I know. Wu Jingbo looked at the result suspiciously. I must find the teacher right now. Is there something urgent? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 279. The second update is here, and I have only finished one chapter now. I am sleepy and warm, Keisu, and I will continue to fight. Dear friends, please give me some encouragement. I'm going to ask for another day off. The conversation changed, and the result said as if asking for credit, by the way, I went to Zairu's home today and met my former partners, who are now working in the glass factory. Don't you like that kind of big caliber pot-bellied bottle? I told them to ask them to blow one for you. Then, you can use it to make vases. Really? Wu Jingbo smiled happily. Thank you, I really like that kind of bottle, but unfortunately, it's not sold outside. My friend's work status is relatively sluggish during this time. If he can return to Baoquan after a while, I will ask him to give you more blows. No need, just one, don't bother others, Wu Jingbo said while packing up. Let's go, I'll accompany you to Mr. Jing's house. I just happen to be going back to my uncle's house today, so let's stop by. Thank you, junior sister. Why are you being polite to me? Wu Jingbo picked up his bag and looked at him with a smile. Brother, let's go. Walk. When the two of them walked to the entrance of the hospital, they saw a handsome young soldier standing at the door, pacing back and forth anxiously. Wu Jingbo smiled at Guo Guo. Wait a minute. Then he walked up to the young soldier. Hello, Zhaoqi Liang. Hello. Zhaoqi Liang smiled and nodded at her. Off work? Yes. Wu Jingbo lowered her voice. Zioxian still ignores you. Yeah, she really ignored me this time, alas. Zhaoqi Liang sighed heavily, his eyes full of sorrow. How many days have passed, and whenever he has time, he rushes over to apologize to Luo Zioxian. It's a pity that people simply don't accept it. A few times, no one was even seen. Today, I saw it, but people said that if you dare to disturb me during working hours, you will be killed without mercy. She didn't look like she was joking when she spoke. He really didn't dare to break in and try. There was nothing he could do. I had to wait at the door and wait for the rabbit. Do you know where you went wrong? After hesitating, Wu Jingbo asked. During this time, Miss Luo has a bad temper. She and Lu Meijun often suffer from Qiyu, so she should help this fool, even if it is for her own sake. She has to help him too. I shouldn't distrust her without even thinking about it. Zhaoqi Liang answered the answer that he had thought about thousands of times. Mistrusting her was the cause, but now, she's even more mad that you haven't figured out where your biggest mistake was. That day, the cause of your quarrel was that she said that Lin Ziahua's mother and daughter had failed to climb high branches, and then. You don't agree with her saying that, do you? Yes, but I already knew I was wrong. At that time, I didn't know what my second aunt and cousin did before. After I figured it out, I immediately left them and apologized to Zioxian, but she didn't see me. Later, I finally saw me, but I didn't accept it. Now, it just hangs like this all the time. I really don't know what to do. Wu Jingbo sized him up. Do you think it's embarrassing to stand here waiting for Xiaoxian to be ignored? A little bit, but not all. Zhao Qiliang sighed softly. Mainly, I have half a month to go on a mission. If I can't get together before then, it may take half a year for me to leave. I don't want to just leave like this. Then why didn't you ask Luo Xiaoxian to explain it? Wu Jingbo stared at Zhao Qiliang speechlessly. Are you a soldier and a fool? She won't let you in and you're just waiting here? As I said just now, you have to find your own fault in terms of the cause. She was angry because you protected your relatives indiscriminately. Now this is not married. What if you get married? Are you protecting her indiscriminately? She has a straightforward temper and doesn't like to be held back by messy relationships. During this period of time, she is also seriously considering whether it is suitable for you, so Zhao Qiliang, you should also think about what your feelings for Xiaoxian are like. If you can't let it go, you will be her for the rest of your life, so hurry up and ask for her forgiveness, and stop being dogmatic. Well, I have said everything I need to say. You can figure out how to do it yourself. If this is the case, you still can't figure it out, then. After a pause, Wu Jingbo spread his hands. Then, go find a piece of tofu, kill yourself. Thank you. Zhao Qiliang ran to the hospital hall without saying goodbye. Who is he? What's the matter? Guo stood far away and couldn't hear the two of them talking. When Wu Jingbo came back, he asked curiously. My roommate's boyfriend is so stupid that he doesn't understand what he wants. He just stands outside and treats my roommate all day. Alas, I really can't stand it anymore. You are really a... After a pause, Qiuqiu let out a long breath. You are a girl who cannot be disliked. Wu Jingbo smiled helplessly. What you said is too old-fashioned. I sound like my grandfather's tone. What I'm saying is true. I usually put on a cool look, but in fact, I have such a chivalrous heart. Having said this, Guo's eyes were a little confused. For Li Xiru, he is the brother's affection for his sister, and the original intention of getting engaged to her was not to want her to be ruined by Xiaoyuan. The marriage certificate was issued by Jingzhe, and the marriage certificate on Li Xiru's side was also issued by Jingzhe with his help. Yes, at this point, he has no way out. However, he now knows very clearly that what he likes is Wu Jingbo. The longer he has been in contact with her and the more he understands, the more he appreciates her. Thinking of her angrily punching and kicking Xiaoyuan, he felt a swell of warmth in his heart. Such a kind girl, such a smart girl, such a chivalrous girl, was the girl he had always dreamed of having. Unfortunately, he realized it too late, so he could only keep this feeling deeply in his heart. But, is it right to do this, or is it wrong? What are you thinking? After getting on the bus, Wu Jingbo couldn't help poking at the result of pretending to be deep. She really couldn't bear this depressing feeling. It's a bit of premarital phobia, Qiuqiu said frankly. Tomorrow is my engagement day, and the next thing is to get married. To be honest, I never thought of getting married so soon, so I feel a little confused. Engaged tomorrow, Wu Jingbo stared at the result with bright eyes. Have you decided to get married this year? It's really fast enough. Yeah, I'm afraid that if it's too late, what kind of tricks will the Xiao family come up with? Guo Result sighed softly. Uncle Qing and Aunt Wan are just as small as such a precious girl. If there is something wrong with her, they probably will. I don't have the courage to live. You. After hesitating, Wu Jingbo said, you have said so much. I only heard that you are worried about Li Xiru, about Li Xiru's parents, but what will happen without you? I hope it is my illusion, but I really think that you don't seem to like this marriage, and you feel forced. I have always regarded her as my younger sister. Guo stared out the window. Before I met her again, I never thought that one day, she would become my wife. Can you understand how I feel? Maybe Wu Jingbo patted his arm. You are so kind, always thinking about this and that. But I think it's right for you to think about others, but you must also think about yourself. If you only have feelings for her as a younger sister, then you are irresponsible to her if you marry her. Love and family affection are completely different. Although love will eventually change into family affection, it is still different from real family affection. I only know that if I want to marry, I just want to marry the man who can bring me throbbing and make me willing to fly moths to the flame for him. Have you met that person? Guo Guo asked, with tremors in his voice that he didn't even realize. Yes, I met Wu Jingbo's eyes softened. As long as I see him, I will be happy, even if we can't be together in this life. The time I once had will be the greatest wealth in my life. The only people who get along with her are the teacher and herself. In an instant, the result understood who Wu Jingbo liked. Although he didn't know much about love, the way she looked at him was never like this, which meant that what she loved was not herself. Who is the rest is self-evident. The result stretched out his hand. I wish you an early realization of your wish. Wu Jingbo shook his hand and said, thank you. In an instant, both of them felt a lot more relaxed. Neither of them were fools. After talking about it, it was easier to get along with each other. After getting off the bus, he walked for another 5 minutes before reaching the courtyard where Jingzhe lived. When the two were stopped by the guard, a car also stopped at the door. A woman in her 40s and a girl in her 20s got out of the car, and then the car drove away quickly. The girl straightened her clothes and looked at the woman. Mother, do you think that girl in Chuxia will take us in? If she doesn't want to lose face at her in-laws' house, she won't take her in. The woman snorted bitterly. The one surnamed Xiao left us there regardless. This will make us come to join Chuxia and get on good terms with her. Obviously, the family of the man married in early summer is about to turn around again. Even if Lin Chuxia is shameless, her husband's family still has face. Who lives in this compound? Wouldn't it be nice to be talked about as impersonal? Hearing the two mentioned Lin Chuxia, Wu Jingbo pricked up her ears unconsciously. Originally, she was rummaging through her bag to find a pass, but at this moment, she deliberately slowed down her movements. *D carat. Carat B***. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 280. One more. The older woman helped the young girl tug at the hem of her clothes, stroked her hair, and looked at her carefully. Okay, let's go in. The young girl handed a piece of paper in her hand to the doorman, who took it, and when her eyes touched the inscription below, she finally smiled a little. Two comrades, please come in. Comrade, you. The young girl was about to ask something, but she was dragged in by the older woman. Wu Jingbo hurriedly handed the pass to the guard, and after the other party let him go, he sped up and chased towards the intersection where the mother and daughter turned just now. Fortunately, the mother and daughter did not go far. They were standing on the side of the road asking an old man something, and Wu Jingbo breathed a sigh of relief. What's the matter? Guo Guo, who was following her, asked suspiciously. Is there anything wrong with these two people? From his point of view, these two people seemed to be nothing but shorter and almost the same. Something special. Who did they say just now? Did you hear that? Who are you talking about? After thinking about it for a while, the result suddenly said, they are talking about Chuxia, Lin Chuxia. Do you suspect that they are looking for Lin Chuxia? No way, didn't you say that Lin Chuxia went back to his hometown to get married? The remark of Chuxia's leave was that she was married, but because she came from a remote village, everyone automatically imagined that she went back to her hometown to get married. Later, no one felt that she was imaginary, as if it was the truth. Yeah, Everyone said that Lin Chuxia went back to her hometown to get married, so when I heard them talking about Chuxia just now, I just listened carefully and followed to see. Is it the Chuxia we knew? Okay. This. The result was a little hesitant. He knew that the teacher had a preference for Lin Chuxia, but he wasn't too interested in whether the Lin Chuxia the two women were looking for was the same person as the Lin Chuxia he knew. I know the man in the car that brought the two women here, so I want to know if they are looking for the Lin Chuxia we know. If so, they should inform the teacher. Guo Guo hesitated for a moment. Go to the teacher now and tell him about this directly. After thinking for a while, Wu Jingbo nodded, that's fine. Do you know which way to go? After asking, Guo Guo smiled embarrassedly. Will it delay your business? Or, I'll go to the teacher's house by myself. It's all here. I'd better send the Buddha to the west. Besides, I'm still wondering about Lin Chuxia. How could I just leave like this? Wu Jingbo said while pointing forward, let's go along here too. This one's curiosity. Guo Guo shook his head amusedly, and followed her forward. When he passed by the mother and daughter, he unconsciously raised his ears. Unfortunately, the mother and daughter spoke the native dialect. He didn't understand a word. Looking at Lin Ziahua and Zhao Qian standing at the door, Chu Xia was speechless. These two. What a genius, to be able to find this place. She was chatting with her parents in the hall. The doorbell rang, as a result. When I opened the door, I found that it was these two people. Chu Xia, I finally found you, but it's not easy. Lin Ziahua grabbed Chu Xia's wrist and started howling. Zhao Qian also wiped away tears. How did you find it here? Zhao Yulan asked in a bad tone. Mr. Wan accompanied Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou to Jing's house not long ago. She thought it was just a visit, but unexpectedly, it was this mother and daughter. Yulan, are you angry with your sister-in-law? Lin Ziahua let go of Chu Xia, hugged Zhao Yulan, and burst into tears. It felt like meeting her own mother. Lin Baohe also stood up, and seeing Chu Xia standing at the door with a look of eating flies, he sighed softly. Xia, close the door first. Mrs. Yan brought out the tea, put it quietly on the coffee table, and returned to the kitchen. When Zhao Qian saw the water, it was as if he had seen gold, and the one who picked it up Gudong and Gudong just poured it in. After drinking it, he looked at Chuxia. I'm still thirsty. Chu Xia swallowed unconsciously. This tea was brewed with boiling water at about 80 degrees. Could it be that Zhao Qian has become an iron mouth these days? Seeing Zhao Qian's hand clenched into a fist, the corners of Chu Xia's mouth hooked in a subtle way. She went to the kitchen and poured a large cup of hot water for her. Drink. Zhao Qian's eyebrows twitched. Thinking of the days she had lived these days, she gritted her teeth and continued to pour it into her stomach. Lin Ziahua, who had stopped crying, snatched the big cup from Zhao Qian's hand. You child, don't die. Mom, I'm thirsty, Zhao Qian said with a bitter face. Lin Ziahua stroked her daughter's forehead distressedly. Mother knows you are thirsty, but you can't just pour such hot water into your stomach like this. Turn around, your mouth is full of bubbles, how can you eat? Mom, I can't care about those things. I didn't feel hot at all, and now I feel a little pain in my mouth. Show mother, open your mouth and show mother. Ah. Hiss. Lin Ziahua took a deep breath. The skin in this mouth is hot red. You child, hey, how do you say hello? How can you be so countless at such a big age? Chu Xia pouted, pulled Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe to sit on the sofa, stared at the mother and daughter with expressionless faces. Zhao Yulan is very soft-hearted. The way Zhao Qian poured boiling water just now made her feel unbearable, but what Lin Ziahua and her daughter did earlier really broke her heart, and now she just sat there with her head bowed. Without saying a word. Lin Baohe has always been a man of few words, not to mention that the mother and daughter are from his wife's natal family, so he is even less willing to add words. However, the way he looked at the mother and daughter was not warm at all. Lin Xiahua and Zhao Qian have been observing the expressions of the family. Seeing that their suffering has not received sympathy from the other party, the mother and daughter are a little angry. However, after these days of tempering, the mother and daughter's patience is absolutely the same as before. Different. Lin Xiahua pulled Zhao Qian to sit across from Chu Xia's family, and smiled flatteringly, or else, at the critical moment, we have to be relatives. Alas, our mother and I just didn't understand. What are you doing here? Chu Xia interrupted her and asked. Xia, the second aunt knows that you must be angry with the second aunt, and the second aunt also knows that she has made a mistake and has received retribution. Originally, she thought that she could become a worker from now on and live a life of a master. Who knows, Xiao Yuan is a big liar. He asked us to go to a small hotel to do that kind of work that no one does. Look. Lin Xiaoyan pulled Zhao Qian's hand covered with calluses and dried blood scabs, and flashed his hand again. With his big short and thick hands, my mother and I, one washes sheets, clothes and mops the floor, and the other cleans the toilet. The coolies in the old society are also better than us. Xia, second aunt and your sister Qian, I regret it. Before I go back, I have to come and admit my mistakes to you. Chu Xia nodded. Oh, then I know, evil is rewarded with evil, and good is rewarded with good. It turns out to be true. I understand. You can go. Lin Xiahua was so angry that her liver hurt. She has bowed her head to such an extent, what else does she want? Well, for her own good life, she endured it. Trying to squeeze out a smile, she took the hand of Zhao Qian who was sobbing beside her. Your sister Qian is stupid, and she doesn't say anything when she sees you. Say something. No need. Chu Xia hurriedly waved his hand. Let's forget about the weasel's New Year greetings to the chicken. The corners of Lin Baohe's mouth twitched, his eyes were full of smiles. The daughter is stronger than him and his wife. At their age, even if they were bullied, they would not dare to talk back to the daughter like this. He also understood now that for a person like Lin Xiahua who has no face, no skin, no heart, no righteousness and only benefits, if you talk about face with her, you are simply against yourself. Chu Xia, how do you talk? Although Zhao Yulan agreed with her daughter's actions, she had to put on a show and scolded her daughter. It's okay, the child in Chuxia is outspoken. Hey, it's a pity that his fate is bad, such a handsome girl, married to such a family, in the future, alas. Lin Xiahua sighed heavily. Otherwise, with our appearance in Chuxia's son, how good is it that you can always marry a good family? Hearing what she said, Zhao Yulan's face turned cold. Second sister-in-law, it's fine, just take care of yourself, and we don't have to worry about Chu Xia's affairs. Lin Xiahua smiled embarrassingly, and when she received her daughter's scolding gaze, she laughed even more uncomfortable. She was used to stepping on Zhao Yulan's family, and she was really not used to it when she praised them abruptly. Something went wrong, and he hurried to remedy it. Yulan, don't be angry, I just can't speak like that. In fact, what I mean is that I don't deserve Chu Xia for us. Anyway, no matter whether Chu Xia stays here or goes back to her hometown to find her in-laws, the second sister-in-law will help out with the dowry. No matter what, we can't be looked down upon in Chu Xia. Chu Xia glanced at her lightly. I just want to know how you found it. Lin Xiahua slapped her thigh. Comrade Lu, who took us to the hotel, is a good man. Seeing that our mothers and daughters are pitiful, he secretly helped us escape. Originally, he was going to take us directly to the station, but we begged him to send us here. Chu Xia nodded. Oh, according to what you said, you came here to admit your mistake to us, right? Yes, but... Chu Xia interrupted Lin Xiahua. My parents and I also borrowed at Grandpa Wan's house. It's really inconvenient to keep strangers here for a long time. We accepted the mistake. You know our attitude, so let's just do it. Chuxia. Zhao Qian knelt down with a plop, hugged Chuxia's leg, and tears rolled down. Chuxia, don't be angry with me, I know I was wrong, I really wrong. These days, I'm always thinking about the past. I won't let you when I was a child. I'm really not a good sister. I want to make up. I will treat you well in the future. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 281. Xiao Yuan had long forgotten about Lin Xiaohua's mother and daughter. When he left the mother and daughter behind, he wanted to use them to get close to Chuxia, but now that Li Xiaoru, who was thinking of him, was by his side, he couldn't eat it. How could he have the heart to think about Chuxia, and even revenge on Zhou Mikang? I can't even take care of it. Of course, he didn't really forget it, but he was too aware of his father's temper, so what else did he have to worry about? He just waited to see Reservoir Dogs. These days, Li Xiaoru was by his side, cared for him meticulously, and spoke sweetly to his heart, but whenever he wanted to go further, she always had various reasons to prevaricate him. He clearly saw that she did it on purpose, but he could only hold back. No matter how prosperous his father is now, he dare not use force in the hospital. As for going home, he never thought about it. Zhou Yiping's mother and daughter are watching each other, what can he do? Therefore, what he has to do now is to use this time spent together day and night to develop a relationship with Li Xiaoru, and when he leaves the hospital, he can coax her into bed. At that time, whether to marry her or not is up to him. It's all over. I figured it out. I don't feel bad when I see that I can't eat the fat every day, and when Li Xiaoru wipes his body, I deliberately let her wipe some of his genitals, or, while she is not when he was paying attention, mopping her body made him happy every day. So, when he received a call from Lu Zhenqiang, saying that Zhao Qiliang had gone to see Lin Xiaohua's mother and daughter, and that Lin Xiaohua's mother and daughter wanted to escape, it took him a long time to remember who Lin Xiaohua and Zhao Qian were. Director. He didn't hear the echo from the other end of the phone for a long time. Lu Zhenqiang thought the phone was disconnected. Then he hung up the phone, and Xiao Yuan, who just came back to his senses and was about to speak, listened to the beeping sound in the microphone. His eyebrows were raised in anger, and he dialed to the switchboard and was transferred back to Lu Zhenqiang. It was just a scolding. Lu Zhenqiang was also very wronged. He talked for a long time, and then shouted for a long time, but there was no sound at all. He just wanted to hang up and call again. In the end, the line was always busy. After Xiao Yuan finished scolding, Lu Zhenqiang asked weakly, "Director, the mother and daughter. What should we do?" "What do you mean?" "They seem to think that the life there is not good, and they want to change places. Should they be allowed to go, or what?" "Do you think the life there is not good?" Xiao Yuan's voice suddenly increased. "Isn't that better than them farming in the countryside? They are still picky. Who do they think they are?" The tricked Lu Zhenqiang echoed repeatedly, "Yes, yes. The work in the countryside is much harder and tiring than this, and these girls are too dissatisfied. If it weren't for the director, how could the hotel use them?" "You said they were going to leave," Xiao Yuan snorted coldly, "then let them go, and when they go out and hit a wall by themselves, you will know whether they should thank me." "Yes." Lu Zhenqiang breathed a sigh of relief after hanging up the phone. When he got the news that Lin Xiaohua's mother and daughter wanted to escape, he was shocked. I don't know how Xiao Yuan plans to use the mother and daughter, if they really run away. How did he explain it? After much deliberation, I took the risk of making this call. He was thinking that if Xiao Yuan looked at the mother and daughter differently, he would immediately change them to an easier job. If he treated them with an indifferent attitude, it meant that they were only kept to embarrass the Zhou family. His current arrangement is absolutely correct. After hanging up the phone, Lu Zhenqiang went to the room where Lin Xiahua and Zhao Qian were locked up. This is a small warehouse where spare tools are stored. The two women curled up on the sacks covered with sheets and quilts. When they heard the door, they raised their heads reflexively and saw the person coming. Zhao Qian rushed over as if seeing a relative. "Brother Lu, if you don't come again, my mother and I will be bullied to death. I've been busy these days, so I haven't been able to come here." Lu Zhenqiang helped Zhao Qian to Lin Xiahua's side. "Comrade Lu." Lin Xiahua rubbed her hands uncomfortably in greeting. "Hey." Lu Zhenqiang sighed softly. "When I received their call, I hurried over here. I don't know how they arranged jobs for you. It's really hard for you." "Brother Lu, where's Xiao Yuran?" Zhao Qian asked anxiously. "Director Xiao." Lu Zhenqiang hesitated, and said, "Didn't his tooth be injured? He is in the hospital. When I came here, I asked for his opinion." Zhao Qian interrupted him anxiously, "What does Brother Xiao mean?" Listening to Zhao Qian addressing Xiao Yuan from Director Xiao to Brother Xiao, the corners of Lu Zhenqiang's mouth twitched unconsciously. As he looked at her, the corners of his mouth twitched even more. Could it be that she couldn't recognize her own conditions? Or do you really feel that you are in good condition? What else do you think Director Xiao means? He arranged the work for you, and he has fulfilled his promise to you. What else do you want from him? As for the nature of the work, to be honest, you are from other places. How can it be your turn to do the easy and worry-free work? Without Director Xiao's care, no one would keep you even if you begged to clean the toilet here." Zhao Qian was at a loss and didn't believe it. Before she could speak, Lin Xiahua became anxious. "Comrade Lu, if Director Xiao said that we should stay here to do this kind of work, how could our mother and I have a falling out with our family? Do you want to stay and support him? Isn't it too unkind for him to do this? Which hospital is he in? Let's go find him. Brother Lu, please tell us Director Xiao's address. I don't want to hide it from you. If it wasn't for a better life, my mother and I wouldn't be able to stay here. We fell out with our family members to embarrass Director Xiao. Well, if we have done worse because of embarrassing Director Xiao, then Director Xiao's face will not be honored either." Lu Zhenqiang looked at Zhao Qian with a half smile. "Do you know the identity of Director Xiao? Be better than the Zhou family. Then do you know what the identity of the Zhou family is?" Zhao Qian thought about it for a while, and said, "It should be about the same as our county magistrate, right?" There was a trace of uncertainty in her tone. Obviously, because something happened to the Zhou family, she subconsciously felt that the Zhou family must be putting on airs. "County magistrate," Lu Zhenqiang chuckled, "you underestimate the Zhou family too much. To be honest, you are similar to the governor of your country. Do you understand?" Zhao Qian was stunned for a moment, but thinking of the current situation of the Zhou family, she said, "Isn't it already finished? The Zhou family is doomed. What I want to tell you now is..." After a pause, Lu Zhenqiang continued, "Director Xiao, you can't just look for it if you want. Let's put it this way, if it wasn't for the Zhou family, you wouldn't have had the chance to have a word with Director Xiao in your life. Now that he has done this, he has done his best. As long as you are willing to stay here and stay here for a few years, you may be able to become a regular worker. After that, you will be urban residents. Compared with being a farmer, you should think about it for yourself. Is it better to stay in your hometown?" "Good." The mother and daughter were shocked by what Lu Zhenqiang said about the background of the Xiao family. At this moment, one head and two older, thinking of their previous attitude, the mother and daughter were terribly confused. "Brother Lu, we listen to you. What you say, my mother and I will do," Zhao Qian said. Lu Zhenqiang was waiting for her words, and nodded immediately. "Okay, you can work with peace of mind. As long as there is a suitable opportunity, I will find a way to transfer you to regular jobs." "Really?" the two women said in unison. they didn't understand what Lu Zhenqiang said just now, but now they are so happy. However, there is a way to make Qian turn into a regular worker faster. What way? Zhao Qian's small eyes widened with longing. Marry a local, Lu Zhenqiang said. Zhao Qian let out a sigh of relief. How can it be so easy to find? At this moment, Lin Xiahua reacted faster than her daughter. Comrade Lu, are you married? Lu Zhenqiang shook his head. I haven't. Is your family local? Yes. How old are you this year? 32. 32, Lin Xiahua frowned. You looked him up and down. You won't have any problems, right? Otherwise, why haven't you married yet? Zhao Qian had already figured out what her mother meant, and took a few glances at Lu Zhenqiang. The more she looked, the more dissatisfied she became. He was about 1.6 meters tall, and his black hair was about the same as that of Haitan. He said, Mother, are you looking for Brother Liu's household registration? Brother Liu is so old and not married, maybe he has a high vision. He has never met a suitable one, right Brother Liu? Yes, Lu Zhenqiang knew what Zhao Qian was thinking when he saw Zhao Qian's expression, and he didn't force it, so he smiled. Sister Qian put gold on my brother's face, and on my condition. How dare I have a high vision? A few years ago, I was busy with work and didn't take care of it. Now I'm looking for it and found that almost all the older ones are married. I've also seen a few of the younger ones. I'm always dissatisfied in one way or another. It's not too bad to suffer another 2 years, anyway, I have to find a good one. Zhao Qian nodded her head in agreement. It's just. Out of the door of the hotel, Lu Zhenqiang's mouth curled into a smile. With such conditions, if you are still dreaming here, let's do it first. Within a week, they will definitely be crying and shouting to marry him. Lu Zhenqiang walked forward, and the team leader who was in charge of Zhao Qian's mother and daughter came over, and rushed the two of them to work like flies. With the temptation to become regular workers, the mother and daughter endured their dissatisfaction and followed. The team leader walked out of the dormitory door behind him. As a result, it is now annoying. After Wu Jingbo went home and asked her uncle, the answer she got was that the Xiao family's affairs were not easy to mix for the time being. Watching Li Xiru put on a smiley face to deal with Xiao Yuan every day, he almost felt internally injured.